What's up, bikers? Oh my God. Episode 202. I breezed right past 200 and didn't even take a second to reflect on it was 200 videos. So thank you, everybody. There's somebody out there listening to this podcast right now that has actually been listening since the beginning. And for you, I have a big thank you. And those of you who just started, sweet. I thank you too. I really appreciate it. It's definitely become something I was not expecting this when I started. So I appreciate all you guys out there. I need to do a little a proper episode on that or whatever. Maybe I'll talk about some of my favorite interviews or something like that. But today we're gonna have Joe from Calirado Kid on. And before I get started with that, let's talk real quick. This year I finally got sponsors. Can you imagine that? This tubby bastard to finally talk somebody into it. But yeah. So, anyways, yeah, here we go. Been riding the Temp Peak by Ari, and honestly, this has been the first e-bike that I've owned, and it's been a learning experience, but it's been a fun one. I can tell you that because I was riding the LaSalle before, which is a 170 bike. This is basically the same thing, but with a motor. So when I got on it, I felt super comfortable with it. Felt like home. So it's been a lot of fun. They got some big deals going on. It's like they're calling it Black Friday. I think anything after like Easter's Black Friday sales or something like that now, but at least that's the way it seems. So swing by Ari, check it out, man. They got some financing on there and stuff too. If that's if you've been thinking, man, I don't know, I just can't quite afford it. So check out the Temp Peak. Definitely enjoyed it. Also, Tasco just released these double-sided jerseys, and I can tell you that they're just super fun. As you can see on the screen, you just flip it over on one side and flip it over on the other side. It's pretty simple. It actually you can't tell when it's one way or the other that it's inside out. They did an amazing job on it. And so basically buy a jersey, it's about, I think he said it was like $10 more than their regular jersey, except for you get two. And right now for the holiday season, they got this ugly Christmas sweater. And then when you flip it over, it's just a black jersey. So you can get an ugly Christmas and a jersey. So use code B1KER, save yourself a little cash. And then head over to freaking Cali and check them out because they have been a long-time supporter of the channel. They have 20% off on their website right now. So you can go over there, you can get whatever you want. So you're looking for a full face helmet. So you're looking for the Lunati here. It's a cost-effective helmet. This PIW Cascade, this is a one-of-a-kind helmet. Everyone that they have produced, it has just random colors and stuff. So it's kind of fun if you just want something fun and funky. But the DH Invader, super fun. I've been riding a lot with the Interceptor, but 20% off. That sounds really good, except if you listen to this podcast, you can use code B1Cali30 and save 30%. You don't need this sale. It doesn't even matter. So use that code B1Cali30, save 30%, get all over it. Buy all your Christmas presents with discounts. And then what it does is it helps your favorite YouTubers out and then also save you some money. So I feel like it's a win-win for all of us, right? Anyways, let's get on with the show. I see Joe over there just waxing his mustache, just raring to go. What's up, Joe?
Oh my God, I'm over here screwing around. I was actually doing a little post on the stories on IG to drive them this way here too at the same time. I was multitasking while you were spieling. I was spieling. That's kind of what we do as content creators, isn't it?
I like it, man. Dude, I've been watching a ton of YouTube creator YouTube videos.
Like how-tos or what? Or just stories back behind the scenes stuff.
Do you watch Colin and Samir?
No, I think I've seen some of their stuff. They're like a podcast, right? And they just take stuff and put it into rotation. Those guys are super smart.
They really, if I was to explain their channel, what they do a lot of really well is talk to huge creators.
Yeah.
And then about what they do and why they do it. And it's kind of almost like this, but just with YouTube creators that are the ones that post videos that are I only got 30 million views on this one.
Yeah. Poor me.
And it's just really insightful to watch as a creator and understand that, we all have the same kind of problems or difficulties or listen to how they planned out their channel. And a lot of them have been I've actually been doing YouTube for 15 years, but this is the channel that hit. You
Yeah,
know?
it's always interesting too when they talk about that stuff and they really break down like what was the thing that made the change, or what was your trick to success, and like listening to those little tips and stuff are always huge. I know when we first started, like one of the things was always like, all right, well, you've just got to plan out your videos ahead of time, right? Which is like, the thumbnail and title stuff was when you first start a YouTube channel is like the hardest part, right? And then like,
Still?
I think I remember Paul or somebody, or eventually you join the group and they're like, yeah, you have to kind of have a good, have a good concept of the thumbnail and stuff before you make certain things, and it has a tendency to be more successful. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Those little things are like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, totally. It's like, I guess one of the things that I was thinking about while I was doing it was, or while I was watching, and one of them was talking about, when you first start your channel, you're kind of like throwing things against the wall and trying to see what sticks. And then you find something that's like, that is you and what your goal was. And then you like kind of run with that. And it really reminded me of you, where like you have the, and well, just for lack of a better term, like the Calirado Kid persona.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is a lot of crossover between that and you personally, but it's definitely like it, not a character, so to speak, that you play, but like a level of enthusiasm that you don't hold with every conversation. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
And I think you were doing that in long form, and for whatever reason, it just wasn't it wasn't paying you back like what you were putting in.
Yeah, I think a lot of that boils down to like my lack of ability to make a good thumbnail and title, and also, like in the long term,
Mhm.
maybe that would have been more successful. I know I pivoted to short form and stuff, and that worked out well. But I released a video last week or something that was like 10 helpful tips for mountain bikers, and it hit 30,000 views after having not posted in like 6 months. So I'm like, all right, well, that's not bad. Like, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's interesting that you say that too, because there's a big argument out there about like whether or not short form subscribers actually cross over to long form content. So
I suspect they don't. And in general, like it's very much, you can treat them as two separate audiences. So it's like a matter of regaining and rebuilding the long form in addition to the short form. If you can attack
mhm,
up from both angles, then it's like, man, you win
yeah,
from all sides. So that's
I
that's
think
been interesting. Yeah.
I think in our space that the short form may cross over better than maybe some others,
Hmm.
because like um ultimately, who is clicking on your like who's watching your short term videos or short form? Mostly mountain bikers. Like your stuff's
Yeah.
entertaining in a way that you don't necessarily have to be a cyclist to enjoy it. So I'm sure there's a large demographic of your subscribers there that actually aren't cyclists.
Yeah.
But my assumption would be, if you could like poll, that you would probably be more people that ride bikes. And in that, those same people also watch long form mountain bike videos. Whereas like if you were like a stand-up comedian and
Right.
your shorts are all like, they're super funny, they're super engaging, people are hitting like subscribe, but you put out a long form video that is still funny, but maybe then it's just not going to pull those people the same way.
Yeah, I've seen some of the bigger comedians will do like this guy named Charlie or something. They'll do those long form videos, and then they'll just break those little segments into short form and push that out, kind of like podcasters do with their podcast clips. And those will
Yeah.
kind of do well too, because it could be like, instead of like the video is, say for example, like we made a video that says like 10 types of riders, or right, whatever, and then the short form, they would just take each type and put it into its own little individual video. So it's like they've been able to repurpose their content. So it's certainly possible. It's always interesting, but I haven't made enough long form to really like feel out the transition between all the audience stuff. So that's the goal of 2025, is to produce more long form stuff. I put out 2 videos in the last 2 weeks or something. So I'm ramping it up and sleeping less. That's the trick.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, you've definitely hit a stride, man. I mean, it's impressive to see like it happen. And then it's also like it's motivating as well, like it's just a matter of finding that like right thing that's like really good for you, and then just kind of chasing after it. Huh?
Yeah, being adaptable, right? Because remember, like you said, when I started the short form stuff, you look back historically, like the views weren't tremendous. So when I made the pivot to short form and they started doing really well, that was really cool. It was reassuring, and it kind of reinvigorated what I was doing, and brought back the enthusiasm that was already there in the beginning. But as you wear down over time, and brought that back, and that was fun. And now I've been having so much fun with the short form, but now I'm kind of craving long form stuff again too. So like being a well-versed all-rounder has been like the goal. So yeah, it's fun to make long form again. You realize you can talk, which is something that like on short form, everything has to be so precise. Like every little, like every millisecond counts in a short form video. Whereas like I made the long form stuff, I'm like, oh, I could just like talk. How about that?
Right.
So that was kind of refreshing. You know what I mean? So
cool. Dude. I think that's super interesting, first of all. And it is like really a different kind of creation for the two.
Yeah, it is.
How would you tell if somebody was telling you they wanted to get into YouTube? What would you tell them to start with?
I mean, are you talking about long form versus short form, or just anything in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like a lot of the short form stuff is that's okay. I don't need to be on screen anyways. Everybody can hear me. It's fine. Everything's fine. Robert's playing around with some new Elgato stuff, so we're working out the details here. But honestly, the short form stuff is easy to produce, but really what I think will help people do is understand that you have to have a concept and you have to execute the concept within the video for it to be successful. Meaning like the video has to have a premise and an understandable premise to execute on. Like, you know, there's different ways to pull it off. Some guys, like, they're just going to show gnarly footage. You know what you're getting into already, right? They're going to deliver on the promise. Like Remy Battalier is a good example. Or if you have a video that's like, what mountain bikers do in the winter. Like there's a premise, as long as you execute on it, like it'll help you refine that. And then when I go back to the long form stuff, it kind of helps me narrow it down a bit or like and tighten it up a bit. The short form stuff that I've done now, when I make long form videos, I'm a lot tighter with the editing than I used to be. So yeah, it's been beneficial in that regard, but I mean, really just got to start creating. So I think you know, either one, it would be fine. Like as long as you get the chops, like you've just got to start fine tuning the skill. And, you know, some people are still to this day very adamant that long form's the only way to go. And some people are very adamant that short form's the only way to go. I'm a firm believer that both is like, it's a fun way to go about it. And now, like, what's been interesting, and I've maybe mentioned this to you now, I've got advertisers on the short form, and now I'm booking like long form integrated ads too. So it's like I'm attacking that from all angles now too, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, because you can then negotiate your kind of like brand deal to be across both platforms.
Yeah, or say for example, you have somebody coming in and say, "Hey, we want to do a long form integrated," and then another brand comes in and says they want to do a short form thing on TikTok, and another one brand comes in and wants to do one on IG. So you could theoretically book 3 things in the same week or something, and it wouldn't conflict because they're different audiences, right? So it's kind of like attacking all 3 platforms has been advantageous.
Yeah. I think my advice to people if they were starting a new channel would be to start with the short form, because it like really like makes like editing so much easier when you're trying to learn how to edit. It's not as many like layers, you know?
And honestly, it's so much more, I don't want to say intuitive or easy, but it is like, because you can get CapCut or something on your phone, and you can shoot with your phone, you can edit with your phone, you can upload it. There's right. It's just the basic core concepts of editing can be like really, you can start to get them pretty quick. Like, and that's like a great tutorial to like, honestly, with short form, you don't need to go through Premiere. Most people don't. Like, you don't need all this fancy stuff that you and I want. You know, like we're always like pushing the hardcore edits, and you don't need all that. Like, as long as you, and then if you get the, like you said, you start with short form, you get the basic chops, like understanding what a basic edit is, like then you can expand that to long form because you understand the core of what it takes to make a video, like at least editing and moving shots around. So yeah, I'd agree with that. It's easy. It's much more approachable, and you already have the gear. You don't need to buy anything. All you have, you just need your phone.
I think because when I started with long form, it was very intimidating to learn all those things. You know, like I didn't really know how to use a camera at all. Like, like you know, even the GoPro, which, as simple as it is like ask me question like white balance. I'm like, I don't know what that means. You know, like
what shutter speed am I using here? I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, and then like to try to learn how to edit on top of it was like, oh my god, it was so many things where it was like, I just want to take this video file right here and I want to cut it in pieces, and then it's like, so what's your timeline? How many frames is on your timeline? And I'm like, frames? I just want to cut it. That's all I want to just cut it up.
Why do you think GoPro now has like cloud services that it takes all your footage and will just make you a video? It's like, hey, click a button. Would you like us to make a video for you? You're like,
It's crazy. I'm sure the more AI stuff that comes out too, the more that'll like just grow and grow, you know?
It's going to be nuts. My understanding is Adobe now in the beta has the ability to AI generate and extend your live action clips. So let's say, for example, you have footage of you riding down a mountain or something, and you're like, oh, the camera cut out. You could just take that, expand it on your timeline, and the AI would fill that in for you. Like,
I saw that and I was like, I don't believe it. Like, is there?
Yeah.
There's got to be like a whole team of magicians inside of my computer, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
because I saw that and I was gonna like, it was one of those things where I clicked the thing to like preview it, and then my logical brain was like, dude, you're about to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Stay focused.
Yeah. Dude, I refuse. I do not need Skynet in my room as much as it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need it popping up and killing me. Like, haven't nobody's seen Terminator 2. We know what's about to happen. Like, come on.
Right.
Like, we're this close to dying. The
Yeah,
robots
it's
we're just
funny.
going to be pets.
We were talking right before the show, and a while back, Sebastian from Normal
Yeah.
had told me about, you know, hey, there's these different applications that'll go out, you know, through your podcast and pick clips and stuff like that for you.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I never like, I was like, yeah, whatever, I can just do it myself. You know, you're gonna have to pay, you know.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
The other day I tried one, the
Like
Opus
or something.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like I'm sold on what it did for the edit, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like,
Yeah.
bottom line, like, it did come up with some stuff, and it did come up with it quickly.
Yeah.
And so
it'll
it
give
was
you,
like,
it'll take a clip and it'll be like, oh, you know, e-bikes and mountain bikes, good or bad. And it'll take that clip, that minute and a half clip where you talked about it. And it's like, what the hell? Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, it did a really good job of like, A, putting the captions up, B, it like would zoom in. So instead of us being just, you know, above each other,
Yeah.
it could zoom in like this, and then split the screen and put the captions in the middle, gave me a title, and then it like ranks them on like how likely
Their
this one is to
virality.
do well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like looking at it, I was like, you know, this is actually a pretty good clip.
It's pretty
you know?
badass, dude.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass. Like, I did it once. The wife told me about the program. I don't know if it was Opus or something else at the time, but she told me about it. I ran it over, like, we did a fireside chat with Jess the Maker last year, and I just ran it through, and it picked some great little topics. It wasn't really what my channel does, so I didn't really do anything with it, but I was like, it is cool. And it, like, again, in a podcast form, that's got to be so useful. It's just like, here's 10 clips. You can, even if you use 3 or 4 of them or whatever, it's like, you know, there's not a lot of legwork involved.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't like was the pricing model, the way it was kind of weird. So, but I don't know.
Like,
we'll see.
Yeah, you already pay for StreamYard. You got to pay for this. I already pay for Epidemic. I already pay for all these. Like, I've got a graphic service because I don't want to make them myself. I don't have time to do it myself. So it's like, God.
Yeah. Yeah, it adds up, you know, and it's funny because like I always blame Brian, but everybody thinks that like every YouTuber makes a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I always blame Brian because he quit his job at 5,000 subscribers. So everybody thinks that like if you get 5K, you can quit your job. You know?
I still remember that video too. And his Joey Trek impression. We all remember that video fondly. I remember that.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So
living the dream ever since. He sent me a picture today, by the way. Every now and then he'll just send me random stuff he's doing at Everstoke. And he said he bought off of Amazon this like heated USB plug-in sweater, like, and he's like, and he wrapped it around the toilet and plugged it in. And he's like, hopefully this way I don't have to like drain the toilet every night so it won't freeze.
Nice.
I was like, fair, that makes sense. It's ingenious.
Yeah. I mean, they've been working on that bathroom forever too up there.
God, I mean, it's a full dual bathroom. They're gonna have a washer and dryer and stuff. I'm like, it's crazy what they're doing up there.
Yeah.
And it's getting cold up there now too.
I didn't get up there as much as I wanted to this year, but every time I go, it's like dramatically different from the last time I was there.
Yeah. And you got to get the, you know, at least a 2-hour tour from Aaron every time you go out there.
Yeah.
Here's this really difficult climb I just added.
Yeah. You're like, I thought that was a downhill trail. He's Aaron like, it is, but we're going to climb up there anyway.
Aaron will put a feature on an uphill. He's like, oh, we got a roller right here. Wait, Aaron, this is the uphill section. He's like, nah, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
I love Aaron.
I used to build with Aaron before he started that project up there. And I know exactly everything you're saying is that 100% true.
Oh, I love Aaron. He's the greatest dude, man. I love it. I love hanging out with
Yeah.
him whenever I go up there. Same thing. Like my plan was to get up there more often this year too, and it's like, where the hell does the time go? It's the same thing every year. I'm like, dude, I want to go do a bunch of rides in Tahoe this year, and I never seem to get around to it. Like, I don't know what happens. I
Mhm.
think it's just a work week thing, and then it's like the weekends. I've got to at least spend one day with the kids. So then it's like, I don't know, man. Everything just kind of flies by too fast.
Yeah. If there was a like one particular ride up there that you'd really like to do, what's on your list?
I don't know. I know you sent Kyle to like Christmas Valley recently. You're kind of the expert when it comes to Tahoe. Like you've done so many rides up there. To me, like I always enjoy good toads, you know, like going up and riding toads or something. But there's so much stuff I haven't seen that like I need to go on a good adventure ride up there. And I think Christmas Valley is that, right? Good, a decent amount of climbing. Like, no, it's not. Okay.
It's not an adventure ride. It
Okay.
is, I would say, one of my favorite rides to do up there as far as like
Okay.
a fun loop, but it's definitely not an adventure ride. If you want an adventure ride, the first thing that comes to my mind, like hands down, is Mount Elwell, and that's right up there at Everstoke.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's just like an epic hike a bike to get up there. And then just a super fun downhill, and you could literally ride all the way back to Everstoke from where it
Sweet.
pops out.
All
Yeah.
right, I got to do that next year. We took the I think it was 4th of July weekend. We took the family up, and I was like, well, I don't know if I even brought the bikes to Everstoke because I was just planning on having the kids and keeping them entertained. And the wife had a few days of work, so I had the kids up there with myself, and we started exploring the Lakes Basin area, and it's
Mhm.
unbelievably beautiful. It's unreal. And like, you know, most of the time I go up there, we're either just building the whole time, or I'm helping with stuff, or I'm going to go ride somewhere. So it's always seems like a breakneck pace. It was nice
Mhm.
because we got to go hike into that Lakes Basin area, and I was like, Brian, dude, this is unbelievable. Like, this is like, the place doesn't just appeal to mountain bikers now, right? It appeals to like, if you're going to hike, like, there's some amazing stuff. Just isolated lakes up there that are just relatively easy to get to, a mile and a half in on some of those, and they're just like crystal clear waters. It was unreal,
Yeah.
man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that route that you take to get up to the top of Mount Elwell goes by a bunch of those lakes that are up in that area too, and it's just, like, very picturesque, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, "Wow, this one looks like like a postcard," and then you go up, like, another 1,000 feet, and you're like, "Oh, nope, this one over here does too."
It's unreal. We have that in our backyard, man. Then like the fact that I went to Mammoth like not this year but last year as well, and I was like, how have I never been here? It's unreal. Like it's
Yeah.
just that those things are close, to like 3 to 4 hours. You know, it's like, man, we California's got some rad stuff, man. It's
Yeah, yeah.
unbelievable.
We're really fortunate that way, you know, what we have access to in a short amount of time. Did You were saying places that you didn't go before that kind of blew you away. I went up to Whistler this year. You've been there before, huh?
Oh man, how'd you like it?
Have you been?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my god. You know, I'm about to release a video about it, so I don't want to like give away too many spoilers, but just put it this way, I think my thumbnail is gonna say, "I hate park, so I went to Whistler."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You think that's a
Yeah.
banger?
Dude, that's good, man. I mean, honestly, like after I got back, I think I did a live stream about it, and I was talking about it, and I was like, you know, when you first get there, it feels like a bike park. You're like, oh, it's a bike park, you know. And then the more time you spend, like I found myself exploring more and seeing more, and like going down random trails I didn't know what it was, and just like being like, what the hell? I remember going down this weird little blue trail that I was just didn't think anything of, and I was like, this is incredible. I've never even heard of it. Like it was just a lot of that. And it was just,
Yeah.
there was so much over the course of 3 days that I still didn't see everything. I feel like you know, there was so much. And then, of course, you've got Squamish nearby, which I did a little easy lap one day because I was so tired from 3 days at Whistler. And then I had Van Can, Nick, and Dangerous Dave show me around the North Shore, which was the craziest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you hit the North Shore while you're outside of
No.
Vancouver.
No,
It's
every video I see of North Shore is like everything that I don't like about mountain biking.
Dude, it was crazy. And luckily, Van Cannon and Dangerous, Nick's the nicest guy. You know that. So Nick was just like, I'll show you around, like no pressure to ride anything, but I just want you to see it. And it was like a great tour. It was the perfect person
Yeah,
to show you around something that crazy.
that would be
Uh,
fun.
and yeah, I can't believe it. So anytime, I mean, I've said this before, anytime like somebody that lives up there comes down here and wants to ride, I'm like, it's just nothing. There's nothing I can show you that you're going to find
Yeah,
challenging or exciting.
yeah.
Like, ah,
I had a really big like I guess anxiety is probably the best word to use for it, but it not 100%, but like when I got there, I was like, man, I don't know. Can I do a Whistler Blue? You know, and then it'd be like, okay, well, everybody says the blacks there are like crazy. So then you'd be on a black diamond, you'd be like, well, can I handle this? And then it took me like 2 or 3 days to get to the point where I was like, no, you can ride this, dude. You're a good rider. It's okay. You know, like, but at first it was definitely intimidating. That's what I was like, very intimidated when I got there.
I think a part of that too is like, man, you don't want to get injured on the first day like an idiot, right? I think a part of that timidness, I think I probably saw the same thing too. I was like, oh man, I got to be careful here. If I get injured on the first day and I come out here for big days of riding, like what an idiot. So it's like, that was certainly in my psyche when I was out there.
Yeah.
I remember riding like some of these crazy double blacks on the third day, and I was by myself, and I was like, I shouldn't be riding this stuff like by myself, like steep rock rollers and crazy stuff. And I was just having a blast, but I was like, this is not smart, like riding this by myself.
The plus side is that, like, I feel like you could be on any trail and within an hour, somebody
will come by. So a good example of that is, I don't know if you saw Jess and Mahala, my dudes, like music video they made out there, which was I forget what it was called. They put it up on social media. It was funny as hell. It was like it's tricky. It was that Run DMC made the song It's Tricky, and they said it's grippy. So it's grippy. Come to find out, by the way, Seabass, normal mountain biker, comes in and he says, do you know what grippy means for Gen Z? And we're like, no. And he's like, that's like grippy. So now we know. We will.
There was a hand gesture for those of you listening. You can only imagine what you would do with a grip hand gesture.
Yeah, my understanding is a masturbatory phrase. So we always count on Seabass to give us the lingo, the lingo for the kids. But so there's where they shot that.
So immediately you were like, that's a great idea for a reel. I'm going to do one about me doing VR and my neighbor watching me.
Me and Bobo just making masturbation jokes. It's right up. When I remember when I pitched Bobo that, he was like, yeah, of course. Like it's right up his alley. So
he's like, you said masturbation, I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember I was right where they filmed that. There was a steep roller, and I crashed on it like multiple times, and it was like, you would think you're just isolated, but you're right. Somebody would come by because there's always so many people out there. 100%.
Yeah. There was some stuff there. I don't remember what trail we were on, but we came to this like turn in the trail, and there's like this like rock outcropping, and I think we're like, oh, let's go look and see if there's a nice view over there or something, you know? And we walk over, and it's like, yeah, there's tire tracks here. And you look over the edge, like, oh my God, it's like a wall here.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy cow, people are riding this. And then you look to your left, and then there's like another line coming in from the left where they're like gapping like 6 feet over to this wall and then like riding down it. And you're like, this is nuts. And then of course your phone's listening to you. So when you get home for like the next 2 weeks, you get a bunch of reels of that spot, just making you feel like so in like out of you're like, dude, I am such a wuss, you know?
Yeah, and it's nice to see the 12-year-olds just rip past you on it and just act like it's nothing. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
but it's
thankfully it serves you up one of somebody just face planting at the bottom, and you're like, okay. That would have been me. Thank you.
Yeah, redemption. There was like so many things that I had seen but didn't know I saw. So I remember like I don't watch a lot. I don't pre-watch videos, you know what I mean? So like some people will go and research the trail systems beforehand and go watch YouTube videos from some of the great creators that we know, of course, but I don't tend to do that. I just go in completely blind. So then after the fact, you'll go in and watch them and you're like, oh man, I did ride that. Okay, that was sick. And it was like, all right, it really gave some perspective, especially when you watch the video and you look at the feature and you're like, the steepness and all that stuff, you're like, okay, it gives you a good baseline for everything else. So I kind of treat mountain biking the same way I treat movies now, like where if I know I want to go see a movie, I don't even watch the trailers because I don't want anything spoiled. You know what I mean? Like every movie trailer these days, they just spoil the movie for you in the trailer, or they show a cameo or there's something. So like Deadpool and Wolverine was a great example. I knew I wanted to see it, so I didn't watch the trailers. And then I saw the movie. I was surprised by everything. That's what I'm trying to say with these trails. I'm just surprised by everything, which is good or bad because it could result in a crash, but I go in blind and have a blast. It was super fun. Yeah, that place is incredible. I would love to. And how long did you stay up there? Were you up there for the whole week?
I was in Whistler proper for like 5 days. And then during the trip, we had stopped in Bellingham and then also in Squamish.
Bellingham's so fun.
Dude, yeah, that's another one of those places where realistically, when I went up there, I found out that you could pretty much spend a week in any city and you would be like really stoked.
Yeah, dude, Galbraith to me is like the prime example of like, and the locals say, oh, you got to call it Galby. I don't care what they say. I'll call it Galbraith if I want to. Right. But they said, like when you go there, if you really explore, because I got lost the first time I went there, and ended up on like the blue-green side, and I was impressed because it was like everything had a trail sign, everything was labeled, even the blues and the greens were just fun to explore. It was beautiful, like it was like unreal. And then they have the other side when you climb up, there's blues and blacks and wooden features, and it's just imagine if you're mountain biking and you had that at your disposal. Like we've got Granite Bay, you know, like nothing's labeled, nothing's whatever. Like I just love that. These places seem to adopt it and embrace it. And it's just like, man, that place is just such a rad playground. And Seabass was saying there's some stuff out there that is not out in Galbraith that's supposed to be really good too, which I have not ridden. But
yeah, we rode an area called Chuckanut that was outside of town.
Okay.
So we went up, and Josh from Daily MTB showed us around.
Sweet.
And like it's so funny that people there, like Galbraith is let's say like 5 minutes from his house, you know.
Yeah.
Chuckanut's like 15 minutes away. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, that's too far. Like, yeah, nobody rides out there. It's just way too far to drive. And I'm like, oh, that's nice, because like my closest place is 30 minutes, and 45 probably everywhere else, you know.
Yeah, I know, man. It's
just too far.
Last time I saw Josh, I was up there for the Northwest Tune-Up up in Bellingham, and we were racing. It was my first ever enduro race, and this dude shows up in a space outfit, like fully one piece, like, and it was like 80, 90 degrees out that day. Like I was dying. We did like 4,000 feet of climbing. I went into the expert division. I didn't place last. All right. I came in at a reasonable pace. All right. But I didn't know the trails. I was on a borrowed bike. Anyways, yeah, he's racing in a spaceman outfit. I don't know how he didn't die. Like, I really don't.
Yeah, there's some quantity higher than 2 screws loose in his head for one thing.
Yeah,
like
he's got the Lord on his side. What can we say?
Yeah, it's Jesus. Jesus is in his back pocket, man.
He's a pastor, by the way, for anybody in chat that doesn't know.
Yeah. He's definitely. I mean, he came out here to climb Downeyville with me, and I'm pretty sure he rode a hardtail that day.
He was racing this enduro on a hardtail in a space outfit. Like, I don't understand any of it. Like any of it.
Josh is a special character, that's for sure.
And the best part about Josh is that he's just like, I need to buy a new car. I think I'm going to make a YouTube video, and he'll put it out once every 6 months and just print money. I was like, God damn it, Josh.
Yeah, I always joke with him whenever I see a new one come up. I'm like, oh, so I guess you needed a new bike, huh? Just need to remodel the bathroom or something real quick. Just throw out a new one.
Damn it.
Let me tell you about why the bike industry sucks.
Damn it. That's all you got to do is make like sensational thumbnails and titles and just whatever. I wish I knew enough about it, but like in my spare time, I don't really go and research bike parts and stuff. It just doesn't, like, I love riding, but like the idea of spending my spare time like keeping up on the industry news and stuff, like it's not as exciting to me. Like I love going on adventures. I love being, but it's hard now because we're kind of part of this thing. And so it's like, I have to kind of take this stuff seriously. But like in my spare time, I'm watching like behind the scenes on movies and how it was made. I'm watching like historical pieces on like how the Romans made cheesecake last night. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know. But we're not always watching mountain bike content or keeping up with stuff. So it's like hard for me to make those videos where he's like, seems to be in the know. Maybe I just need to go find an article and just read it word for word, because the biggest thing these days on YouTube and anywhere else, if you guys don't know this, is like reaction videos. Like people just react to other people's videos. Like big creators will just go take a video and react to it and just get millions of views and just print money. I don't understand.
It's interesting. I mean, like, I think there's a market for everything, apparently.
Yeah, there is.
Like, I mean, I personally don't understand like watching somebody else play a video game. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I mean, the game streamers are probably like one of the biggest like revenue generators in YouTube.
Oh yeah, they make millions, 100%.
Yeah,
and I told Brian, that's BKXC. I was like, God damn it, we played video games as kids. How did we miss the streaming boat? Like, we could have been millionaires by now. What are we doing?
Right.
Instead, we chose mountain biking.
Yeah. Instead, we chose something you have to go out and do for like 4 hours.
Damn it.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm sure. I mean, if there's an opportunity to stream mountain biking, I mean, I've seen Brian do it already. I'm sure he'll get it down eventually, and
Yeah, I don't know if he might have given
back
up
it
on
back
that
up.
dream. I know Terry Bernstein does it. He streams from New York all the time, and he'll get some decent amount of viewers and stuff. It's super cool that he's got just a whole rig he pulls off. It's super sick. But
Yeah,
I just don't know if anybody wants to see live, riding.
yeah,
Like, I don't know, like if it would be advantageous for anybody. You'd have to strap a Starlink to your back and do like some big backcountry ride. That'd be sick. Like that'd be something
yeah,
nobody's done. You know?
yeah. I mean, I think it'll get there. That tech will get smaller and better, and it'll come along to a point where, this is my assumption, you'll probably get to a point where you can like either have like AI like changing your camera angles and stuff like
Yeah,
that, or you could at least have like a studio guy
yeah,
that's like doing things for you, like switch between camera B and camera A, and like
yeah. Send a
you
drone up in
know
the sky, and it's just switching between those every now and then.
yeah,
Like it'd be some
yeah,
cool stuff. Yeah.
I'm sure it'll come around to it eventually. I mean, I think that like VR actually will probably bring POV back. I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
when you
like,
get to a point where you can actually like just think like Google Maps
yeah,
a trail. So then like when somebody's watching your video, that they could be like, "Oh wow, I can see the turns and everything that's around me." And I know like Ryan from Lone Ranger did that recently in Whistler, but
yeah, it was
I
hard
don't
to
think
pull
it's
off
there
on
yet. It's
YouTube.
not
Yeah,
there yet,
because you got to
you
like
know?
move it around yourself and stuff. I tried to watch it, and it's basically like all the comments are like, "This is unwatchable."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I
unless maybe if you had the VR set.
kept getting myself into a spot where I'd be like just staring at the ground or like the air or something. It's like this is too much work.
Yeah, and so then I tried to do it with a VR headset, but like porn kept popping up. So I was like, I don't know how this. And the wife walked in, and I was like, look, all right, I'm not
Right?
trying this again. You know?
Yeah, right. You're like, it's grippy, it's grippy.
Oh my god.
Oh man,
VR
that's
is an interesting
hilarious.
space too because I've had a VR headset forever, but it's like if you've never tried it and you put it on, it blows your mind. I assume you've tried it before.
I've tried it a couple times, yeah.
It's like whoa, and then but like for long term, I can't just put the headset on and be in here and like. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels weird. Although there was one game called Elite Dangerous, which was the coolest experience. I've always been a space guy. I love space. I love like the idea of a space simulation video game. Like I used to play
Mhm.
back in the day, like this multiplayer one. So the idea is like for Elite Dangerous, you have your headset on, and I have a HOTAS, which is the throttle and stick, and you have that
Mhm.
on the counter. And I haven't played this in years. I did it maybe in LA. I had it set up or something, but like you could play it like that, and then you're just like flying around space with the throttle and stick. The ship's responsive. It solves
Yeah.
the motion sickness because you're in a seated position, right? You're in the
Yeah.
ship flying around. You don't have to walk. It was
Ah.
unbelievably cool. Like it's really cool. And I wanted to break it out again, but my time is so limited. Like to have all that in here is just hard. But yeah, it was just so
Yeah.
interesting. I know it's not
Yeah,
mountain biking, but there it is. Yeah.
I feel like if you are a YouTuber, you like basically agree to get rid of all your free time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And yeah.
And then
Any
fortunately, we're at least doing it like about mountain biking, which we enjoy. So you
yeah.
have to go out and mountain bike to like make your content. But otherwise, I mean, I'm glad I'm not somebody that's making content that could actually just keep me in my house all the time.
Yeah,
Because
I've said that before in the past too. I joke about it, but you're right. I like to me like the fact that we got into mountain bike stuff is really cool because yeah, when we go make content, we go on an adventure, we go like whatever, and it's such a good experience, and you've seen parts of the world that you never would have seen before, and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, being locked in here for 8 hours a day streaming is definitely like I'm glad I didn't go that route. It'd be fun, and there's certain things to it, but yeah, I'm glad that ours involves going out and seeing the world. I like that.
yeah, yeah, I definitely like, and maybe it's just my personality set, but it's so easy to be like up at midnight doing one more thing.
Yeah,
you know and then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then you're one more this and one more that, or real quick that, and
yeah.
and I think there's a lot of things to really get sidetracked on, and I'm glad that we're at least like motivated. The main part of the content, you have to go outside,
Yeah. Yeah, the whole process is interesting because anybody that's a content creator knows like all the content has to be self-motivated too. There's our purpose is our purpose. Like we find what we like to do, we make what we like to make, and nobody's telling us we have to do this. Like we just do it. It's you know, And the people that have survived this long are the people that are gluttons for punishment, and take some enjoyment and some appreciation for the skill set and the fun of like coming up with a new angle or a new concept. And to me, like there's still fun. Like occasionally I'll do these videos where Kyle and I went and shot the mountain bike haunted house one, and we shot all the intro stuff for this video where it's like the light was going down and we're like, let's see if we can knock this out. And then we can set up all the little sets and stuff and get those shots later. And so as we shot everything, we're doing our intro, our walk in, all this stuff. Then the sun's about set by this point. So then we film our scary parts, which is him like stabbing a tire and like putting in his foot into like, those old clip pedals and all that stuff. And it's dark by this point. And so we get these outbound lights out where we're getting we're playing around with the lighting, and everything in that video was shot by outbound lighting. It was cool. So I'm getting backlights on the bushes and all this stuff. And it was a really fun shoot. And, obviously when we get together as creators, it's always fun to make stuff together, but it's like, man, it was just like creatively engaging because you're like, how do I pull this shot off? How do I get the lighting? How do I like get this angle that I want? And so that whole shoot was super fun. We shot all the extra scenes. And then when we wrapped that, I was like, man, the lighting at the beginning of this video, like what we shot earlier, I don't think it's going to look good, And Kyle's like, hey, let's shoot it again if we got to. So Kyle's a trooper. We're doing multiple costume changes and stuff in the dark. And so we reshot everything where we walk into the maze. We do all our reaction shots. We reshot all of it because I was like, that way the lighting was consistent. And that video is almost at 1 million views already. So it was worth doing it. It was worth it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But the process was fun. That's the best part. It's so cool. Yeah, we had a great time shooting that one. And then there's lots of stories like that.
You said something. You said Kyle's a trooper, and then that made me, dude. When are we doing another episode?
I've got to script all that out. That's 2025, baby. We got to do it again. And I'm going to get official outfits and everything, and we'll script it out and come up with concepts and do short form stuff with it. Yeah, we got to.
I honestly, and I'm going to tell you this over and over again, I think we should do it as its own channel.
Yeah.
And really see what it can do on its own. I really think on its own that whole premise. So let's tell the story here. So do you want to explain this is a video that he did a while ago. We all got together and filmed.
Yeah, it was so random that we pulled this off.
Yeah, go for it.
So I don't know. The reason why I thought of the idea was because I had shaved the beard and I had the mustache, and I'm like, what can I do with the mustache while I have it before I grow the beard back? And the beard has never come back. But I was like, dude, it would be funny as hell if I got aviator glasses and we shot a Reno 911 something, right, with mountain bikes. And so we ended up somehow just getting all of us together. I don't know how the stars aligned. It was me, you. I didn't even know Kyle that well at that point. The only reason I met Kyle was because of you, because you guys picked me up randomly when I was climbing on the road in Auburn. And so anyways, and then John was there, and the Chris bros, the Green bros were there. We just somehow got everybody together and shot this thing in a day, and maybe in a few hours, because we were pretty limited on time. I remember that. And I remember I had somebody in the comments after we made the video. They're like, you could have really done better with the scripting and all that stuff. I'm like, motherfucker, we improvised most of that shit. Are you crazy?
There's always that guy, right?
Yeah. I was like, let me tell you a story about how this came together. He's like, oh, okay, good point. Yeah. I was like, all right. Yeah.
The script was getting us there. And then it was we pretty much ad-libbed almost the entire thing.
Yeah. Exactly right. Exactly right. So it's funny as hell. And Kyle, you just I didn't really know Kyle that well at that point, but I knew he needed to be in it. And it turns out all the comments he made was just him being Kyle. I was like, great acting, Kyle. And he's like, and really now that I've known him for so long, I'm like, no, that was just him. That's that's how he is.
It's so good. Yeah. So basically the premise of the show is.
Yeah, it's Reno 911 on mountain bikes. It's basically trailhead troopers, right? Or what was the super troopers, but with mountain bikes. It's great. Yeah, the premise was there's just 3 guys who are just the troopers, and they're buffoons, and then all kinds of, we're just trying to enforce the laws on the trails. That's really it, trying to keep law and order on the trails.
I feel like that is its own channel, and it could just be a little pet project to for us all to play around with.
Well, that's why I need to go full time so I could do that. The hardest part for me has always been time management, and every ounce of energy has been devoted to this for the last 2.5 years now. It's I've had to say no to a lot of things that could have made me money that because I just believed in what I was doing, and it's worked out. It's worked out. Now we're at the point where it's worked out, but for a long time, I think I told you I worked with my buddy Ollie, and I still do. I do live sales with him, but I was really helping doing comic book sales and stuff like this, and I love what he's doing. But I kind of saw the potential in what I was starting, and so I kind of had to back off of that. And like that was a potential like good revenue stream. And you know, I used to build podcast studios for people and stuff too, and then they started asking again, and I was like, nope, can't. I just started cutting everything off to focus on this and make videos. And even now I can't keep up with production. It's like impossible. I can't, like, it's so hard.
Yeah.
You know how this is, like with the time in the day or whatever, motivation. Sometimes you get tired. Sometimes like, so it's like, it's hard for me to even keep up.
For me, there's two struggles. It's I am a master procrastinator.
Yeah.
So like, and not having a actual deadline that's made by something other than me, definitely causes me to procrastinate more.
Yeah.
You know? And then the other thing is like, you can't like turn on creativity. It's not like you're like, okay, like I can go out and be like not in the mood to ride, but go out and do a big ass ride, right?
Yeah.
Just like a mental, like, hey, lock in, you're gonna do this, man. But like to be creative, like sometimes I don't plan my videos out. You know, I film what happened on the circumstance.
Yeah.
And then I'm literally like writing what I'm like saying as I'm editing the video.
Yeah.
And I'm like going through and I'm like, oh, I want to tell a little bit about, you know, the restaurants in that area. So I'll like say that, I'll do the voiceover, and then I'll get the clips together, and then I move to the next spot. So like you can't sit down and just like decide you're going to be creative, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like I'll sit down with every ounce inside of me, keyboard in front, you know, hands, I'm ready to go. And then it's like,
nothing comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know, you open up the browser so you can go to Epidemic to try to find some music, and then like the link for your bookmark for Epidemic's like right next to YouTube, and you just click YouTube by accident. And you know, like,
I've had times where I drive out to the trail with all my gear and everything, just like hoping inspiration comes while I'm out there. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. You know, some days you get lucky and some days you don't. Like, but yeah, it's like it's always in the back of our mind, right? At least we're thinking about it and we're trying. But yeah, I mean, it hits every now and then, and sometimes it doesn't. Like for sure, it's a constant struggle.
I just feel like that show or some variation of it is something where like you build an audience that's almost like a sitcom kind of audience.
Yeah.
And then you have these characters, and then each one of these characters can do their own thing all the time, right?
Yeah.
So like potentially if you had, let's just say it was like 4 or 5 creators, like let's say Kyle is one of them, you know, he can just go out and film himself doing something stupid over and over again.
Yep.
And then now you have a bunch of shorts of like Kyle like trying to fix the bike, and then he like throws it down the hill, or like you know what I mean? So like there's really opportunity, like a good opportunity to collaborate more than just the actual shows themselves.
Yeah.
So I feel like the short form content would really drive people to watch those episodes. And even if they didn't, they would still enjoy these like idiot characters that are like just the short form characters, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, like, I don't know if Bobo's made this public knowledge, maybe I shouldn't say this, but he told me at one point he was working on a script for like a full on television show, like it's around mountain bikers, but it's not like, you know how, there's a lot of shows, like for example, The League is a great example of, it's about fantasy football, but most of the show, there's no fantasy football going on. It's just them doing funny stuff. And you're like, you can make a show about mountain bikers that doesn't have to all be about mountain biking, or it
that's
could be
essentially
just,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, sports, whatever. So
yeah, it's like what is that? Tacoma FD. It's like a sunny kind of funny sketch or comedy show, but it's about like firefighters. Are they really fighting fires and doing that? No, most of the time they're just bagging on each other and making fun of each other. You know, like same thing. So I think that's the reason that I really enjoy the premise of that show so much, because I think that you would still be able to like, we still play around with the fact that we're mountain bikers, right? And there's that, but on the outside of it, it's like, it's just like what you said with like Bobo. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. It's just what you're watching, like, you know, instead of, I think you get what I'm saying. Hopefully everybody listening does too.
Vince says the real mountain bikers of NorCal. There you go.
Right.
Yeah. Side note, I don't know if you know this as well. I'm just breaking out all the secrets. You might have known this already, but Jess the Maker is going to be living in our vicinity for a couple months. She's going to be up in Placerville, so there may be some good opportunities there for collaborative efforts.
That would be super fun, man. Yeah, I know that they were talking about coming out here. I just didn't know their time frame or whatever. She's friends with some of my friends, and
yeah, she was saying Brandon and Kelly, right?
Yeah. So like they talk. So then every once in a while, Brandon will tell me something. I'll be like, "Oh, cool, that's rad." And like, it's funny though. It's like, I don't know. I feel like if she's here, there's more likelihood that I don't see her than her staying in Bentonville. Like people ask me all the time, they're like, "Doesn't Joe live right by you?" I'm like, "Yeah, like literally, like probably 10 minutes door to door." Do we hang out? Never.
I don't know if people know that I just never see anybody. Like that's the problem. Like I've told her this before too. I feel quite isolated because like I'll go on a Saturday and I just got to go knock these things out. And I'm just like very like, and then like the next day is like family. So it's like I just feel, I just don't like invite people on rides. It's just like, so I'm hoping I have more time soon to ride. I've barely ridden in the last couple of weeks because I had some hellacious weekends of filming the last So this weekend I kind of just did nothing, and so like it's this weekend we're doing a ride up at Hoot because the whole talking about paving over Hoot thing. So we're gonna go up and ride Nevada City this weekend.
So anybody that's listening to this podcast and I don't have the link available. Maybe I'll ask Joe, can you explain what's going on? I'll see if I can grab the information to put in the show notes.
So this is my understanding. So Orion, who is a major trail builder out in Nevada City, he's done so much work up there. Obviously, Bonk, the local trail org, they've done a ton of work building in Nevada City. They've got dedicated mountain bike downhill trails now on one side of the mountain. The other side has been one of the funnest trails. It's called Hoot. It is one of the most heavily trafficked trails in the area, like hands down. And whenever you go on it, you'll see families riding it. You'll see parents with their kids. You see just everybody's just having a blast. It's so good. It's such a great like intro trail for flow and all this stuff. Anyways, what he is saying is that essentially there is a group of horseback folk. You know how much of a fan we are of the horse people in chat, yeah. And so they started complaining that there was berms and there was like rollers and little jumps in there and stuff. So apparently, the U.S. Forest Service has plans to basically clean that up. Like they're gonna not bulldoze the trail. The trail will still be there, but they're going to basically eliminate anything that's fun on the trail. And like, this is something we really don't want to happen. So I know that Bonk has put out some information. They've given a few emails that people can send emails to essentially like, be like, please, like we love Hoot, don't screw it up. And like, that's kind of what I wish the title of every email was like, don't screw up Hoot, but we got to be a little bit more professional than that. But I sent an email to the local politicians. I almost never do this, but I say I'm an authority on the subject. I made a video out there like 3 years ago that's still one of my favorites. It was a love letter to that trail, and they're talking about screwing it up. And so the point is, don't screw up Hoot, stupid horse people. And these are people that like, we could just build them their own trail if that's what they want. I think the community would rather do that than deal with this crap. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, I think all of us would go out there for a dig day and make the horse people a trail in one day, and they would never do that for themselves. Never. Yeah. 100%. And that's what pisses me off. Like, they're like, let's take away what they have because it's a multi-use instead of like putting the legwork in. You know what I mean? Like, I guarantee you the whole community will come out and help them build their trail, like, for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So anybody that's listening, I put it in the show notes of the podcast or of this episode, but there's 3 email addresses that they asked you to email. And I think I also put a link to maybe the Hoot Trail post where he's talking about what's going on. Yeah. But essentially, if you have time between now and the 15th, I think the 15th is the day they're planning on bulldozing it. Honestly, just sit down and write an email. It doesn't matter what you say, just anything positive to try to ask them to stop. I like you, I did the same thing. I don't normally do that, but I wrote an email because I think it's really, it's really important for us as mountain bikers to be advocates for this sport.
Yeah.
And it's really easy for small minorities of people to like make themselves sound like they are the majority.
Yeah.
And if we're out there just having a good time, like the guy that made that video, the Hoot guy.
Yeah. Orion. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, there's like 9,000 people that have ridden that trail on Strava. And if you look at the Downeyville downhill, which is like way more epic, it's like barely more.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was like 15,000 people, and it's like, but that's been there for like way longer. So
Yeah.
it's very apparent that it's really used. So I mean, use your voice, and maybe you can actually like make like incite some change.
Man, this is one thing that gets me worked up too. It's like we got to be politically correct to a certain extent as content creators, but this is one subject that I do know enough about now that I'm like, it's bullshit, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
these people that you've never seen a horse on Hoot. I've seen him once in my entire like riding career out there, and it's like, again, just like, why are you ruining other people's times? Because you need to. I don't get it. I just don't get it, man. So yeah,
There's
I don't
there's a
know.
lot of trails out there that they could ride otherwise. But I mean, I even said in the email that I sent, I've come up on hikers. I've actually come up on horses on that trail before, but all of our interactions were actually good.
Yeah, I always
So
pull
like,
over immediately. I'm like, go for it.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not in any hurry. It's fine. Like, I'm always pretty courteous to that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, pure fact that they're sitting on like an 800-pound animal, like, you win, dude. You're bigger.
But
Like,
why do they need to go
I
to that
definitely
trail?
don't want to get kicked by that.
I know, and I don't want to spook that thing. Like, it's fine. But I don't know if you remember this. This was like right before Dirt Days. So this was in May.
Okay.
Anyways, somebody rode. We rode Talon Show, and then the following day, like basically, or there was that day, a horse went down Talon Show, which is a dedicated mountain bike downhill trail specifically for mountain bikes, and they ripped it up. Like they like hoof marks all the way down the trail. Like it was like, oh, they were like, oh, we didn't know. Like there's signs right up front at the
Everywhere.
top. It's just like
Yeah.
children, man, grown children.
Yeah, and some of that stuff makes you wonder, like, is that the person that just doesn't want the mountain bikes to be there, and then they just went down the trail and they were like, "Oh, sorry," but they were like, "No, we meant to do that."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and Proteoid in chat brings up a good point. There are plenty of other trails. There's so many trails in that area. It's like they just decide like this is the one we want. Like we want this one. I don't get it.
My understanding is with the Parliament trails in that area that it's actually like a different like land manager or like a
Oh,
different
interesting.
group. And I could be wrong, but that was my understanding, and that's like why they did it out there where the Parliament stuff is, instead of like adding to the network over closer to like Hoot and Scott.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like I had heard like that was the way that they got Hoot initially approved, was it had to be multi-use.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, and I know that Orion said that he kind of slowly built in berms and stuff to make it what it is, So it wasn't. I don't know that it was fully, but it's been like that for so long now that like it's such a beloved trail in my opinion that like just to see
it's
that
definitely like, even with the addition of all the new stuff, which is super fun. They did an amazing job building it all, but Hoot is probably still my favorite trail there. It's just like it's just a ripper, man. It's just so fun, and
it's so good. And every time I go on there and I stop for a second to take a picture or film something while I'm out there, you'll see a family with a couple kids rolling through, and they're just having a blast. Like I've never been out there and not seen a family ride down that trail. It's like, man, it's definitely something that's easily accessible to most skill levels and stuff too. And it's like for all ages. Like it's just it checks all the boxes,
Yeah. Who knew when you were making the best Hoot video in the creation of YouTube online that you were actually making a documentary of a trail?
If they tear it up, that's it, man. I would rewatch that video again the other day, and I was like, man, I really like that video. It came out great. Like, again, that's one of the things I miss about long form is like looking back on those things as time capsules, like the trips I took. Like, I'm glad I made the Spain videos, because to me, like, that was a great, like, I can watch those a year, 2 years from now and be like, man, what a trip. There's still a third video I never even made. We rode in France and we never rode another day, but like, I was like, I didn't make it. I guess maybe it's still I'll make it one day or something. But yeah, like going back, like I like that about long form is that you've got this little time capsule and it's fun to look at.
Yeah, I know it is super fun. The only problem is that whenever I feel like there's only a window of me watching it, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Until I get that much better at editing, that I'm like, oh my God. I didn't like, for a long time, I never color corrected anything because I was just like, I don't care. And
my edits are aggressive, dude. Like I look back and I'm like, that's a fucking good edit. I still am appreciative of it. Like I definitely put so much work into a video that got 1,000 views or whatever, right? Like I just like what.
Yeah, when I think about like videos that you made that didn't get like traction, that I still like. The first two I think of is Hoot, and you did a Downeyville video as
Yeah,
well.
I love that
just,
Downeyville
like,
video too.
just phenomenal. Like the story was good, the cinematography was amazing, like everything was really like just really dialed. And it was one of those ones where I'm like, that should have blew up. Like, why
And
did it not?
Brian made a video where all he did was ride down it, and it was a single take. Essentially, he got 1 million views.
What the hell?
Damn it!
Yeah, I don't.
So
we've
had a rivalry to this day. He doesn't know it, but we're in direct competition.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I bet you he doesn't have any shorts that have done as well as yours. So
no. Yeah, it's that's been my specialty. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Took over that world.
Right, just dominated.
I told him one of the things that he should do, and I don't know if he doesn't have the time or he doesn't want to. I was like, make Sarah do it or something. But I was like, a really good niche for him would be to, like, people love lists. So, like, if he was to do like, hey, top 5 trails in Iowa, or top 5 trails in Idaho, or top 5 trails in whatever, and then do like, hey, 5 best destinations in the world to ride, or these types of videos, he has infinite content for that. And just like,
Yeah.
You know, you could do AI voiceovers or whatever, you know, like, or he could voice them himself, but just like number 1, number 2, number 3, not, you know, like those things, just keep making those every week. Like, that's a really good piece of information. And people also love lists. Like, those do really well in short form.
Yeah, maybe he's just holding on to that for like when he gets injured or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
Because honestly, no, I mean, I think you nailed it on that. That's like, it's intriguing content, and it's like, it's that stuff all works, and then you have the footage, so it's not like.
Yeah, and it's hard to sort through it, I'm sure. I don't know if he hangs on to his old footage, but he could take clips from his videos. It wouldn't matter, like, as long as the content. So things that do well in short form is like, one, informative stuff where you learn something.
Oh, you're saying for short form then?
Yeah,
too.
for short form, and you could do.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking of it in short. I was just thinking in long form.
But for short form, you could do something easy, like, hey, let's go over the top 5 trails in California or whatever. Like, and just like, and he's been all over the world. Like, hey, like, you know, 3 places to ride in Japan. Don't miss it. You know, like, boom, boom, boom. That could be really fast. But it could be like, there's infinite content. He's been everywhere, you know?
Yeah. I had this idea for a while. I think it would be really fun to have somebody film something, right? Let's just say it's a ride.
I tried to get my wife to do it the other night. She wouldn't film it.
Right. Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about?
But essentially what I would like to have is like 4 or 5 creators get all the same footage, but then see what stories they make with the same footage.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. It'd be such an interesting thing, because it's like the same thing, but everyone's voice. Like, and that's why people talk about that in a long time, like about starting a channel. And we've talked about this since the early days. It's like, why start a channel when there's so many people already with a channel? Because everybody has their own style. Everybody's got their own like comedic timing or information. Like Rich from Semi Cindy channel, he's you know, professionally editing stuff now, but he had such a great analytical breakdown of parts and things. Like, all of us could be in the same room and all come up with the same 5 different things or whatever, because we've all got our own little styles, and I love that. It's so cool, man.
Do you talk to him much?
I text him every now and then. His wife got injured. Like, she was in a big crash recently because they race and stuff. But she's healed up. But
he's working for Burn Peak.
Is he really?
Yeah, not like, that's not like his only gig, but he had told me that somewhere along the line that he's working with Seth. I was like, oh, that's really cool, man.
I know he was traveling with the race crew and doing video stuff for them. So it's like he kind of got involved into what he already kind of loved anyway. So it's like, he's got a
handful of things going on. But yeah, no, super good content creator.
Yeah, and it's, you know, now he's doing it for someone else. I'm like, Rich, stick with your channel, because when we first started, him and I were competition. Like, I remember seeing his first video, and I'll send him this clip later. But I remember seeing his first video, and I was like, why the hell is it so good? And I got pissed off. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And it turns out he had like a production company or something, so he already knew how to edit. But I didn't know this kid out of the gate, and we had like the same amount of subscribers when I watched his video. I'm like, now I'm pissed off. All right, like.
So, yeah, and then he had a mustache and a beard too. It's like, wait a minute here.
Damn it. But yeah, like, you know, I won. All right. I got 190,000 subscribers now. So suck it, Rich.
How do you think that's changed you at all?
No, it's this. Now I'm more stressed out than ever. Like, it's, it doesn't matter. Like, at some point the numbers don't matter anymore. It's still, to me, like, about producing content, and it's like nice if things do well, and it's like disparaging if they don't. But there's not much pressure. Like, really, when I do brand deals is when I feel more pressure, because I want them to be successful. And I've seen that. And the benefit is I've been doing some work with Outbound Lighting, and they haven't aired on my channel, but they've been putting in the ad rotation on Facebook and IG and stuff. And it's been cool because I've known the guys for a long time. So I gave them like a really cheap rate, comparatively. And I was like, I just want to help you guys out. So we made some great stuff, and they were showing me the stats, and they're like, my stats on the videos that I'm making are like just light years ahead of what they were putting in rotation before. So it's really cool to share those numbers and see, the engagement levels and all this stuff. And it's just like, a video we just put into rotation will do like 10 times what theirs did in a year. It's already like 10 times more, right? Or something. So it's like, it works. And that's been cool. Like they're a great company. And I was like, let me help you guys. So we've made some really funny stuff, and it's been great because it's just having that dialogue with the company when things go in there. It's been good. Yeah. So I do the work with N+1. Yeah, they're amazing. And I did the work with N+1 bikes. I went out to Kentucky. We filmed a ton of stuff out there. Like Sean, I was like, Sean, you're going to have to turn off notifications on your phone. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, watch. And I put out the first video, and it just, he still will call me on the phone and be like, can you believe like almost 40,000 people shared it? Like, cause it's got like 3.6 million views on just one of the videos. Like a bunch of them were at like 500, 800,000, like millions. And so it's like, it's cool to see when I can deliver those results. And it was fun because I had all these ideas I wanted to shoot in a bike shop anyways, and like finally got a chance to shoot a lot of them. And those concepts were solid because like they all went nuts. It was great. So.
Yeah. I remember when you first like did your kind of video, and
first ever viral,
I remember you coming back to like the Slack group and being like, I think I figured it out.
Yeah.
Like I really figured it out. And I mean, just judging by what you've done since then, it just feels like you have like a banger tree growing out in your backyard. You just go pick it whenever you feel like it.
Yeah. I mean, like really that was the start of it. Right. And it sparked it in me. And my initial reaction, I remember I was at Sedona Mountain Bike Fest when my phone was going crazy, when that one started going viral. And really what happened as that was happening is I began to study like why, how, where it was reaching, how, I was just absorbing everything. I was in shock, right? I was in awe. And then after that, when I got back, I was like, how do I recreate it? Maybe not necessarily the same style of video, but if it's a fluke, okay. But if it's recreatable and I could do it over and over again, then I know I'm onto something. And so then, another video gets 1 million views. And then then I started fine tailoring and understanding a little bit more and how to structure it. And so I was able to recreate it. And we all get our imposter syndrome. We all think like, we did one, we made a greatest hit or whatever. We made a one hit wonder, and that was it. But it was like, once you can recreate it consistently, it's like, all right, I know what I'm doing. Like, you can unequivocally say, I kind of understand it now. So,
yeah.
And I'm always happy to share that knowledge, but yeah.
What is that? What is that formula? What do you like? What are you putting into place whenever you're formulating an idea in your head?
Well, it's certainly my style of content creation is going to be different than others, right? Like there's certain things that will do really well that I know will do really well. Like I told you, people love lists. Like I've done a video where it's like 4 ways people cross water on a bike or whatever. That's millions and millions of views across multiple platforms because it's like, it's relatable. It's a list that you're like, oh, I'm that one, like you can. And if you're not, you go, that's my buddy, you're that one. So they share it with them and they sell, you know what I mean? Yeah. So those things can tend to go viral. I'll do those occasionally where it's like, hey,
it also makes you wait to the end because you want to like see for whatever reason, you want to see the next one. You want to see the
psychologically in your head, you're like, if it's a top 5 or whatever, 4 ways to do it, like what are the 4 ways? Or like, so there is like psychological things happening there. But as long as you deliver a good one at the end, like you've got to come up with a funny one at the beginning because you've got to grab attention right out of the gate. So you need something on the screen to understand, like we could break this all down. Like you need something on the screen to tell people what they're about to watch. Like, so if it's not glaringly obvious, right? So in that case, a text will come up on the screen, say 4 ways mountain bikers cross water or whatever it was at the time. And so while you're reading it, you're in the video still, which is good. That's a couple seconds. It takes 2 seconds to read that. And by that time you're already into the first one. So now you're involved. The text sometimes will keep people in there. If you don't have a text or like something that's what's going to happen in the video, you might lose them quick. So like my methodology for those is like, hey, make the first one really good. And the other 2 could be okay. But the 4th one's got to be the hit. It's got to be like, you've got to deliver your punchline and get out. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you watch a lot of my videos, usually there's like a joke at the end and it's like, boom, the video's over. Like that's so structuring in that regard. But like there's a lot of ways to do it. Informational stuff does really well. So if you're delivering like good informational content, that gains traction over time because it's useful information, right? So like it doesn't always have to be a comedy thing. Mine's comedy based most of the time, right? But like if you're delivering, hey, here's the best way to change your brakes. Like here's the best way to clean your rotors. Like these things can travel too, right? Like that's interesting. Spectacle stuff does really well. Seabass captured this when he did his getting off the seat post video, which got 80 million, 100 million, whoever many views, but it looked like the seat post was in his butt. And so like people are like, what is this? And so like spectacle, where it's like a crazy crash happens, those can do well. Those are sometimes circumstantial, right? Because like you might have to be there to film it, but you can film stuff that makes it look like it's somebody filming it that doesn't know you. This is now we're getting really in the weeds, right? But his brother filmed that, but the audience doesn't know that. So these are like some of the ways that I've seen to like pull off proper short form. But to me, it still has to have like a premise. If it's just footage, it's got to be exceptional footage, right? Like riding footage. It's got to be exceptional. Like Remy does this. I had a couple that I shot in Crested Butte that looked beautiful, that were worth uploading, and they look great. But like if I was to put footage of Granite Bay, they don't do well because they're just like, it's just not exceptional.
Yeah. It doesn't look like even if it is something that like 80% of people would be intimidated by on camera, it looks like 10% of people would be intimidated by it.
Yeah. So, it's fun to upload it, but like if you want it to go crazy, there's got to be a something to it that makes it more valuable. Right. So, it's tricky,
man. I wrote this thing out the other day that I thought would just have killed. And, I like wrote this script because it's, it was like right before the election.
Yeah.
And it was like vote for Trump is a vote for, and then like, it was like, what I wanted, let me back this up. What I wanted was I wanted to like find one of those like AI generators where you could like make a video of the person saying what you want them to say.
Yeah. Yep.
So I wanted it to be Trump saying like, if you vote for me, I will ban all e-bikes and we will make them all gasoline. Drill, baby, drill. Yep. And then like Kamala Harris was like, if you vote for me, we will tear down Trump's wall and make a single track all the way across the country. Like
who do you vote for? Like, and put a poll on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had like Vance and then the balls guy, or what's his name, fucking on there too. And I just thought it was gonna be so funny. And I was online for like 3 hours, maybe 4, trying to find like a good generator. And it just got to the point where I was like, it's not gonna work. Like, I have to go out and buy some software and learn some software and like to make it have the quality that I wanted it to have. Yeah. Because it wouldn't hit otherwise,
exactly. Yep.
Because there was one somebody did a while back. It was like Obama and Biden talking.
And I think I know which one you're talking about.
I think Trump was in it too, and they were like talking about like, riding the bike park or something like that, and it was so funny,
Yep.
And I don't know. I was just like, I wanted to lighten the mood from the whole election thing, so I was like, oh, this would be so fun, but it just didn't work out. So
yeah. It's that's like those.
I got 4 years to learn how to do it.
And there's gonna be a program that we didn't even know about that like all you gotta do is like type make Trump say this and it'll just like do it automatically. You're like, God damn it, like
yeah. I found a couple that were okay, but then it would be like maybe the voiceover would just be horrible. It didn't make any sense. It was too AI sounding.
Yeah. The next step is you're just gonna have to learn how to do impressions of everybody, and this is where you're gonna up your game. All of a sudden, you're gonna be the impressions guy. Every time you go to a Sedona, people are like, "Hey, do that impression of Biden falling on his bike."
Yeah. I thought about like doing that, where, you can get away with it, like just having a piece of paper taped to your chest that says Trump and another one that says like Kamala or something, and I thought about doing it that way just to like try it. Cause sometimes those things hit anyway.
Yeah.
And at that point I was already like so far into trying to find the AI that I was just like, I'm done wasting time on this. I need to actually work on something that I need to be productive with. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But sometimes, man, I don't know. Yeah, it's fun being creative, man,
Yeah, and like I think we all get those moments where we just have something pop in our head and the joy of like executing it. It's like, it's like you know, that little journey was probably really fun at the beginning. And then like
Yeah.
4 hours later, you're like, it's not as fun anymore. But like,
Yeah.
you know, you have those times where you're like, this is going to be good. There's plenty of videos. Like, it's funny. I've talked about this too. Like, I work with Everyman Jack on stuff, and like the videos I shoot for them, they just let me go free reign on stuff. And so some of the concepts I do in the videos I make for them, they won't do well because they're marked as paid advertisements and people click away immediately. But like some of the concepts I do on their videos are like really cool. Like I did one where it was like very psycho. It was just like, there's like weird things where the cameras are like alive. And like, it was just like, it was a lot of work to put it together, but it was a great creative outlet. And because they let me just like run free with it, it was very odd. And then I did another one recently where like, you know, basically like the guys crash into each other and I'm like in my own crotch. And luckily I ran into John. John was out there with Steve. And like I had him be a stunt crotch for me. So my face was in my crotch. In the video, it's like my face is in my own crotch, right? But it was John's stunt crotch. And so like the only way to pull this off was to rope him into this. And so I'm sniffing his crotch because I needed, like, it's all over deodorant was the premise. Right. And so like I thought it'd be funny. He's like, it smells pretty good down here. Like, you know, like just like in it, smelling his junk. And then he's like, okay. And then he goes in for like a big whiff, you know, and you're like, dude, come on. Like, but it was a fun video to execute. But as soon as you put like, you know, paid ad on something and people are just like, they don't want anything to do with it. But like, I love the concepts that I'm able to pull off on those sometimes. And like, it was a pain in the ass to shoot because it took me like 4 hours, but it was still fun. Like it was like, you know what I mean? It was like that same initial, like we were like, you still get kind of fun. It's just fun to shoot stuff sometimes. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's like you're giggling and laughing to yourself. And I mean, those are always fun, you know.
Yeah.
There was I think it was my last video that I did. There was this one spot during the day where one of the guys we were riding with, he was trying to stop riding and just like wherever he decided to put his foot down, he like slipped and just fell over. It was like one of those like stupid moments. And because it was like at a feature, I was already standing there trying to film. So I totally caught it. Right. And I didn't put it in the actual video because it didn't make sense in the story at that point.
Yeah.
But I did one of those like the beep at the end, you know, and it's just like he fell. And as soon as he fell, like what came out of his mouth was like, I guess that wasn't a good place to stop. And it was just really funny. So it's just like perfect timing though for that one thing. And it's man. Oh, those moments are so like every time I saw it through my edit, because you know how you like watch it over and over and over again. It's like every time it made me laugh. It's like, yeah, those moments are great.
And that's part of the reason why we're still in it. You know, it's like those little moments, either we do something silly or somebody else does something silly. And it's like that. When you're cracking up during the edit or something, you're doing it right, you know, or you're looking at, like, I remember when I was editing some of the Spain stuff and this drone footage we got up on the hillsides, and I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, this is a National Geographic show I'm making right here. So it was like a different type of challenge, right? And there's always something that we can find. So I talked about it earlier. Yeah, it's like going from short form back to long form and really stretching my creativity over there again too. And it's always just time management because the short form suffers if I go do long form stuff. So I'm hoping to do more, just come up with concepts, execute them, not put as much time in it. Like the 10 things video, like it's doing really well. And I didn't spend 40 hours editing it. It was nice. I already knew what I needed to really shoot, just boom, 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 boom. And so if I can come up with simpler concepts with you know, baked ideas, or, you know, and already has a concept, then I think I can churn them out more and just, you know, get the world more Calirado. That's what everyone needs, you know?
Yeah. More Calirado. What's the, you mentioned earlier about going full time. What's the likelihood of that? What are you looking at?
Man, I'm really close actually. I think I probably could right now if I wanted to. I just I don't know. I feel also irresponsible as a 41-year-old man, like going to be a content creator, but I'm not. Like I'm doing good. Like I'm executing a lot of deals. Like I just I don't know. I don't know what's holding me back. It's not self-doubt. I know I'm capable of it. I think it's uncertainty could be a problem. You know, and also I got wife and kids. So it's like, she gets it. She's on board with it. So I think I'm close. Maybe I'm just waiting for a moment at work where they like yell at me or something. They'll try to write me up. And I'm like, I'm out of here then, you know?
Right. Yeah. What movie was that? Like, F you.
Yeah,
you're cool.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm actually waiting on like one more deal. I'm close. I don't know why I'm putting it off right now. I was hoping to do it by my birthday, which is coming up.
I was watching an interview with Mark Roper the other day, and he was working at, I think it was Apple, like in a very, very like senior kind of position.
Mark Rober?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like a NASA engineer.
Yeah, that was before
Yeah.
though. Like when
Oh,
he
wow.
actually quit his job to do YouTube, he was at Apple.
Wow.
And like people didn't even know it. They like some YouTuber found his name on like one of their patents and was like,
Wow.
wait a minute, this
That's
dude works
crazy.
for freaking Apple,
Yeah.
you know? And but he was saying that he was actually making more money on YouTube than his high paying tech job
Yeah.
for like a couple of years before he actually quit.
But we got to
Because he was
remember.
like, yeah, and getting videos that were like 10 million views, you know, like long form, you know, and he was still like, yeah, ready yet, you know.
Yeah,
So take your time, man. Do what's right for you, you know.
that's the crazy thing. Like where we work, we are limited to how much we make. We make this much all the time. That's it. That's all you get. You might get a raise at the end of the year, but that's it. You just that's how much you make. Here, there's infinite potential. Like you just sign another deal, you do another piece of merch, which I'm not doing. I haven't done merch in forever. I know I'm working on it, but just all time management. But yeah, it's like I've got a lot of, and there's stuff that I'm doing now, like where I'm producing stuff on the side for companies that don't air on my channel. And now you're a production company, which is really, I think, where the bread and butter is going to be, like as being essentially a production company. And then hiring people like Kyle and you and Brian and all this stuff to like, hey, I need this shoot done. Like you're like maybe we get to that point where I'm like now doing that.
Yeah.
Like so, I could
That's
see
the
that
stuff.
being.
That's
Like
the stuff that I think would be really exciting because it's like, for instance, when you took Kyle on a trip not too long ago,
Yeah,
like it'd be the same kind of thing. It's like, hey, Robert, I want you to come and get like you ride ahead. I want you to get good, clean shots of me when I'm coming down the hill.
yeah, exactly.
And then I'm going to go do this other thing and just get some good, like awesome drone footage.
Yeah,
And you can just ride and just do what you're doing. And you can be confident in like the people that you have with you.
yeah,
But like as you grow, they're like people that were, for lack of better terms, like part of your neighborhood. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
exactly,
even if they
exactly.
were just who's on the other side of the country or something, but it's like these people that are familiar with you. So it's not like you get to that point and then you're like, hey, I need to go find a professional drone operator. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
friends. You know, because like I was watching, it was like a Mr. Beast kind of thing, you know, and it's like some of those guys that are on there, they were just his buddies making videos with him.
yeah,
And now these guys are like making very good salaries and they're just the talent. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
they don't have to run the company, they don't have to edit, they just show up and be funny. You
Yeah.
know, like
And it's like, oh, dude, we got to go shoot a deodorant thing for this company or whatever. It's like, boom, like, hey, let's get out here. You guys want to make a couple grand this weekend? Let's go. Like that
yeah,
Subaru spot that I went to is a production company based out of LA. I guarantee you they were getting paid at least 50,000 to make that thing. And I got paid a small amount comparatively, right?
yeah,
So like they had 10 people on set to shoot this TikTok video that I could do by myself. Like, and so
yeah,
it opens your eyes a little bit to see like what kind of money is involved if you can pitch the right companies and stuff. So I know this is a little deep in the weeds on that stuff, but there's so much potential there too that I don't have time to do right now. But I think there's so much, there's a lot of fun to be had on that side. I didn't originally think that I would enjoy making videos for other people, but I've done it now and I'm like, all right, it's not so bad as long as they like kind of let me still concept it and like pitch them and like, all right, here's the idea. And they're like, okay, well, let's tweak it a little bit. I've done stuff with Bosch, for example, and like, I don't know how they found me, but like, I sent them a pitch. I made this video and it was funny. It was self-deprecating. It was right on par for my channel. And then they were like, oh, it's a little too funny. And I was like, oh, what? How did you find me? Like,
right.
do you know who you're talking to here? So we scaled it back. And I think, the videos did worse as a result, but they were informational and they presented the product well. And sometimes they'll put them in ad rotation, but like, how'd you get a hold of me then? Like,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. I think that's part of the problem though, is whenever these other companies, I mean, I'm hearing this even from like the huge YouTubers where you would think that they would like just walk in and like, hey, this is what I want to do.
yeah,
But these bigger companies, they have their perspective on how they think things should go. And I think that YouTube is it's a different beast.
yeah,
And a lot of these people come from like television or movies and not to say that they're not talented at what they do, but social media is totally different. It's a different pacing, it's a different like there's so much of it that's different. You
yeah,
know, it's like
yeah,
you actually don't need to make like some super high end like graphic to like make people stoked. Like you could
yeah,
actually just draw it on a piece of paper and be like, you know, and people like get it because they're like, it's YouTube, and it doesn't matter, and it still like carries that same weight. And then I think that like where we're at right now, in the world. Like, it's really interesting because I think you're going to see YouTube and things of this nature, they're going to start slowly bleeding into that other area where, like, it's already like that. You
It
can
already
go
has.
watch
Yeah,
like
it already has.
Michelle Carr or something like that, and it's like that's a 45-minute show that I would watch on the couch instead of watching Netflix.
Yeah,
You know?
100%. There's tons of shows on Netflix that, like, Tasting History is a good example with this guy Max Miller or something. He hosts it.
Mhm.
I showed my dad a clip, and he's like, oh, I watch it with the wife every night before bed now, like an episode, and it'll be like he'll cook a recipe from whatever era he's talking about. In this case, I was watching one last night about like Rome and ancient Rome, right? And he'll talk.
Mhm.
Then he'll like take this ancient Roman cheesecake recipe that they have text on, and he'll produce it, and then he'll talk about ancient Rome and what it would have been like at one of their dinners and like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
ambiance, and like then he'll eat the recipe at the end. I'm like, this is incredible. Like I love it. It puts me in
Yeah.
that world like that, hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago. And it's like that content, if that would have existed when I was a kid, I probably would have been way more into history. Maybe not. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows? Our attention spans are
Yeah.
nothing when we're kids, but now I
Yeah.
love how it's presented. It's so interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just I think it's a really interesting time, and it's really fun to be part of that community, regardless of what size the channel you are.
Yeah.
It's like it's just really fun to be part of, and like I I'm like super stoked that I'm still here and still doing content, and it's still relevant, and it's really fun watching other friends of ours like do well, and just yeah, it'll be cool to see where we're all at in like another 15 years.
Yeah, it's always super fun, dude. Like I watch your videos, I'm like, God damn it, I'm mad I didn't ride Tahoe. Like you go on these crazy adventures or whatever. It's like, man, I love it. It's so cool to see, and it's fun because even when we go to the festivals, it's like smaller creators, bigger creators, mid-sized creators, doesn't matter. Like we can all get together and hang, and it's like we all know we're all in the same boat. Like we've all dealt with the same problems. So it's
Yeah.
like it's an instant bondship. What do you call? What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Got
Instantly,
it.
like you're like,
Instant
yeah,
bond,
let's,
yeah.
yeah, it's so cool, and it's been a fun journey. And who would have thought, like the people that we've met along the way, the amount of friends we've made along the way, like. There's so many of us that wouldn't have known each other had we not done this. Like it's just
Most
who would have
most of the people I hang out with now are all people I met through YouTube, whether they're creators or like people that maybe were at one time a subscriber and I went out on a group ride with them,
yeah.
or like it's just really it's interesting. It's not like I didn't try that, but it just happened, kind of over time. I mean, at this
Yeah, and
point, like, I mean, I started in like 2017. I think when did you start? Like 2020, no,
it must have been
2019
around there because
maybe?
I remember it was like I was looking at my videos and some of the stuff I was making, and I was like, that was like COVID era. So I started right before COVID started,
Yeah.
essentially.
Because I feel like COVID is whenever around the time that you like figured it out.
It was right after. I think I was making long form, and then it was the makeup Sedona Mountain Bike Fest. Remember they did the one in November?
Yeah.
And they did a makeup one because they had to cancel the COVID one. And so that was the first Sedona Fest I went to. And that was the first like short form viral thing that went for me. And so like, that's where the short form took off. I was gaining traction on long form. Like I'm still like a capable editor and stuff, but I just need more consistency. And now that I understand the thumbnail title game a little better, I still like my click-through rates still like aren't where I want to be, but I don't want to spend too much time thinking about it.
I
So
think
we'll
you
see.
got your pacing down though. Like when I watched the last long form video, it was like, I think, and this is part of why I said this earlier about the short form. The short form makes you like really deliberate on how you edit.
Yeah,
Like,
very purposeful. Yeah.
very purposeful. And then you like learn how to like tell this whole story and not in like 60 seconds, and I think then that's really easy to do once you have more time, like to like extrapolate that bigger. And I felt like these last couple that I've watched your long form, like that you really have that pacing down now.
Yeah.
Where I feel like maybe that's what was maybe lacking before, like artistically
totally.
and everything was really good, but the pacing wasn't there in a way of like hooking somebody and like keeping them anticipating. It was like you were telling a great story.
Yeah.
But it wasn't maybe optimized for YouTube. You know what I mean?
The short form has 100% refined the blade edge, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I'm much more aggressive with the cuts and understanding, because with short form, like I said before, every millisecond counts. Like, so when it's going back to long form, it's like, oh, okay, I'm a lot more intentional with things that are happening. So I learned by doing that and came back and translates to this, and you get like, so never stop learning, always adapt, like always. And it's been
Yeah.
everything's been fun. Like, it's all just personal preference. So it's been great, man. It's yeah, it's just always learning something new. I feel like I still don't have anything mastered yet, so I'm still
Yeah.
trying to figure it all out, you know?
I think, what do you think that you enjoy the most about creating? What do you think is like your like thing that like makes you most stoked about it?
It's like that spark of inspiration. I think sometimes it's like doing something you've never done before, a shot you've never done, or like a
Mhm.
concept you've never done. And like when I come up with the idea, and you get this too, is like you come up with it, you're like, I think I'm on it. Like, I don't think it's going to be successful. I just know in my head, I'm like, this is going to be a fun one. Like, and
Yeah.
some of those like don't turn out great. And so like chamois butter popcorn, for example, was one I had to make. And you know, I don't know that it did great. It did like, but it, you know, I knew it would never, like, I didn't go out to make that video to make 1 million views or something. I just, in my
Yeah.
head creatively, I thought it would be a funny thing to do. And so
Mhm.
like, that still, I always tell this, I'm very grateful that people tolerate me, because like still to this day, I'm not really making content for them. I'm making it for me sometimes, most of the time, right? Where it's like, I just think
Yeah.
it's funny, and I'm really so fortunate that other people think it's funny. But like a lot of times just me stretching my creative boundaries, you know, and like doing weird
Yeah.
stuff. And you know, it could be stressful too, right? Because you're like, we go into those moments where we don't have creativity in our head, like something, a switch flips, and you're like, what
Yeah.
happened? And then it switches right back on. And I've done it enough times now to know that I'll be okay. Like, if I have a
Yeah.
moment where like all of a sudden like nothing's coming to my head for a week, and I'm like, oh, I'm ruined, but I've gone through it enough times. Like, originally when you start the channel, you're like, oh, I'm ruined. I mean, this, my career in YouTube is over because I can't
Yeah.
think of anything. And then like all the next day you'll wake up and you're like, boom, 40 ideas pop in your head. You're like, oh, I'm back, baby. So
Yeah.
I've gone through that process enough to know that it doesn't stress me out anymore. Like, nothing, it doesn't bother me. I've had weekends, the last couple of weekends, like where I had to produce a YouTube video for Ace Pro 2, which was Insta360. I had to produce a video for Sport RX, which is an integrated ad, which means I had to produce another YouTube video for the integrated ad for Sport RX. Then I had to do 6 story posts for Gerber, which is a multi-tool company, and a video for that, submit all that for approval within the course of like 4 days. And I pulled it off, and I was like, nothing can stop me, man. I could do whatever I want. You know what I mean? Like, and it's good and bad, because it breeds confidence, because I know I can do it. I've never not accomplished something that I set out to do. And so it's also bad because I can procrastinate now, because like I know I'll get it done. You know, like it's a double-edged sword, because like I'm really like stoked that I've proven to myself time and time again that nothing's gonna get in my way. Like, I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna jump over that wall. I'm gonna keep running. Like, I won't stop. So like it's less stressful as a result, I think, these days, because I've proven it to myself over and over again. And
Yeah.
and that's the stuff behind the scenes people don't know. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been, I don't know. I know what I'm capable of. So it's cool.
Yeah. I really enjoy that. I think for me, it's really the creative aspect of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I love about it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously I've been doing it as long as I have, and and it's not in a financially lucrative way. You know what I mean? So it's not like if you put down how much money I've made on this channel since I've started, and you put down how many hours I've worked, like, there is zero logic in why I would keep doing it.
Yeah.
Other than there's a passion there. Like, I just really I like the community, and I like the so many aspects of it. But I think for me, what it really, really boils down to is just the creative outlet. And I really like telling that story, and like feeling that fulfillment of like creating this like thing. And then you get the instant feedback. It's like, you know, when you hit one good, and
Hmm.
you got all these people like just like patting you on the back, you know, essentially, it's like it feels really, really good. It's just hard not to then chase that, you know?
Dude, and that's the reason why any of us that are still in it are still in it. Is
Yeah.
that's it. The creative stuff is so engaging for us. Our minds won't let us go without it. And like, that's the only way we all, like, all the people that are still doing this, you know, even like Single Track Sampler and Brian and Seth
Mhm.
and all these guys that were the OGs, like, man, you gotta be in the creative process. You just gotta, you gotta like it. You gotta enjoy it. And
Yeah.
like, we gotta make stuff that we like. And if we do, we're still in it. Like it's hard to
Yeah.
get burnt out if you're really enjoying the creative side. So like, there's a reason why there's the OGs like you and, you know, like I said, Brian and what's his name, who uploads a video once every year.
We
Daily
talking about
MTV,
trail
Josh.
feature?
No, Josh.
Oh,
Yeah.
Josh.
Trail Feature just
Yeah.
talks about fixing his house now. But like, yeah, I mean, like, I think that's the key to any, it's not just mountain biking content, it's any content creator. Like it's the creative side that keeps you in the game. Like it has to
Yeah.
be. You have to be somewhat selfish and you have to be somewhat doing it for yourself. And that's why I say, like, truly, I am oftentimes making these videos because I think it's funny. And like, I'm just
Yeah.
fortunate that people agree sometimes. Like, but you know, it's like, I'm just having fun, you know, I'm just lucky. But you know, it's stressful because it takes away time from the kids now. It's like, it's such a priority. I'm managing all this stuff in the background. Like, I'm like, oh, sorry guys, I got to leave for the day and go like really knock all this stuff out. It's like definitely more stressful now than it's ever been. But yeah, it's fun. It's still fun.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was listening to a creator talk earlier today, and that they said that, you know, like it's not when you would think that when you get bigger, you make more money, and then it's like your problems would go away. Cause like when you're small and you're our size, and we're like, man, if I had an editor, if I had somebody that was filming, like it would be great. And then these guys are like, yeah, no. Cause when you get there, it's just more stressful because now you have like these people that are relying on you to like make this banger video so that you can pay their salary. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about it like that. You know, it's like, oh man. So I don't know, man. It's just it's definitely I enjoy the community. So and I just really had like a moment, I think last week or two, where I was just thinking about where I was at, and like it's so easy to get caught up in where you want to be or what you want to do, or like the deadlines that you have or self-imposed or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to do that. But like I just really sat down and thought about like how much I am actually like grateful for this, you know, like it's super fun to sit here and talk to one of my friends for 2 hours and like be like engaging with, you know, a bunch of people that are out, you know, in the ether, and then a bunch of people that'll watch us in the future, and just like you know, there'll be somebody that'll come up someday and it's like, oh man, I was watching you on that Calirado podcast, and it just really like helped me through healing at the hospital. I was laying in the bed, you know, just getting better. And it's like, dude, when I was sitting there just bullshitting with Joe, I was not thinking that there's some guy hung out in the hospital that's like thinking, man, I'm glad these guys are doing this, you know. And like
somebody the other day, by the way, I was either doing a live stream or ran into them on the trailer or something. They're like, "Oh, I got into mountain biking because of you." I'm like, "No, you didn't. You're mistaking me for Brian. Like, you're making stuff up. No, you didn't." Like, I was like, "All I do is make stupid, funny videos. Nobody gets into riding because of me. Like, it's like, get out of my face." That's what I told him.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Just you're like, and can I smell your crotch?
Yeah. And no autograph for you today. All right, get out of here. You bother me.
Yeah. No, that's hilarious.
The secondary side effect, right? We get into this for fame and fortune, but it turns out just meeting people across the world and all this stuff has been like such a cool side effect. There's a lot of places I want to go ride now. Like, for example, like I'd love to get out to Australia/New Zealand. I know I pair them together, and I don't know if that's how it works because they're very kind of far apart.
Like it's close enough. It's like Jersey and New York, right? They're the same.
Yeah, but I suspect like there's enough people, like if I want to do that, I would say like, dude, it'd be cool to do like a couple weeks in Australia, maybe 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks in New Zealand or something. And you just have like enough time to go on a proper adventure if you're going to travel that far, right? I mean, I would love to visit Spain again. I already talked to Doug, and he's like, dude, let me know if you want to come out, because that trip was the most unreal trip I've ever done in my life. Like, I got to get working out again.
Something up with him, man. Definitely reach out to me, because I would love to go on that trip. I think
it was unreal, dude. It was unreal. I was like, maybe next year we'll go out there again and just get our ass handed to us out on the mountains, and just get whoever wants to go and just be like, hey, come on, man. Trust me. I'd love to spend more time out in Spain. I didn't realize I would love the country as much as I did. And like really Barcelona was amazing with the family, but Yeah, there's still stuff. Austria looks like it's got a bunch of bike parks. Like, I don't need to go international per se, but like next year for sure, I got to get up to Crankworks. Like, I gotta just mingle with everybody out there and just hang out for the scene. And I definitely got to get some more planning in.
I'm toying around with some like really different kind of content in the mountain bike space, but that's very much what you see in other parts of YouTube.
Yeah.
And I've been like kind of playing around with these ideas in my head, and I have like 2 projects that I need to wrap up. And then when I wrap those up, I think I'm going to try these out and just see if they hit. And it's got me a little excited.
Here, how to wheelie videos. Just make a how to wheelie video every week, and eventually one will hit 10 million views. Like it.
Yeah. I think like
still do well. It's like how to cook the perfect steak. You still have a million of those videos coming out, and they still get tons. I don't understand. It's the same process every time.
Right. Yeah, I think there's some room though for us to do things in our genre that you see in other places that that none of us are doing.
No,
so like
Ryan
Traham, I think that's his name, Traham, something like that. Like he did a thing where it was like I went to all these 1-star review restaurants and like saw how that went. You know,
I sent an idea to Eric Porter once. I was like, I should do a video where you go ride every bike park. You know, I rode every bike park in the U.S. or something like that. And he's like, that's a lot of bike parks. I'm like, well, what if it was lift access only? He's like, it's still a lot. I'm like, I rode every bike park in California. How about that? Like, let's start narrowing down the states. That's a whole series. If you did that and like every state, like I rode every bike park in California, I rode every bike park in Utah or whatever it was. Like, there's a hook. People know what they're getting into right when they get into the video or whatever. It's like.
Yeah, or I mean, you could just go to North Star and say, I rode every trail in North Star.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, okay, then you could talk about which ones were the best or which ones were the worst or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of like in that genre, like I was thinking about, you know, like how Mr. Beast would say, like his first brand deal, whatever it was. He's like, it was something along the lines of like, if you guys give me $5,000, I'll just go give it to a homeless person.
Yeah.
And they were like, what do you mean? Like, that's like your payment. He's like, no, I'm going to reinvest it all. But he's like, I know it's going to hit, so it'll pay off, you know? And I think that there's some stuff like that where like, not, you know, it specifically, but there's those things that that are very entertaining to watch, even if you're not a mountain bike, like even if you're not a Mr. Beast fan, you know what I mean? Like you could run into that one and be like, oh, I'll watch that, you know? And I've been really kind of trying to like creatively come up with these ideas of like things in like that, and to shoot those instead of the way that I've been shooting for a while. So
I mean, some of the most successful videos I've done aren't technically bike related. They just have a bike in the shot. So that's something you could do to reach a broader audience too, is like really like I'm doing a skit. There's a bike in the scene, but like I'm not on a bike. I'm not like riding the bike. Really, this skit, like a great example is one that I shot in the garage, which was like where I was talking about my used tires and like why I'm he's like, are you going to throw them all out? I'm like, are you crazy? Like they're worth $90 each, whatever it was. That thing hit so many millions of views across platforms. And like, technically it's not about biking, but it's, you know, because anybody with tires could relate to that. And I think it's one of the reasons why it did so well, but it still fits into my audience who are bikers.
Yeah,
because there's bike tires in it. So it's
I think it also hits because you could picture that with whatever your hobby is.
Exactly.
That you have that's what I mean. Your garage full of, you know. So
that's what I mean. So it's like it doesn't have to be me riding a bike to be a bike video. As long as there is, you know, something, it's still something we deal with, but it's also something car people could deal with or whatever. Like, so there's sometimes ways to sneak past the bike requirement. And that has some of those most successful videos, you'll notice that where it's like, technically, you know, it relates to my audience 100%, but it also like can go further as a result. So it's like, there's a lot of, and that's why I talk about creatively, like what keeps us going. It's like, let's play around. What can we think of? Like, what do you, let's try something different. Well, who cares if it doesn't hit? Like, at least I got to do something different and like try it and see. And there's no wrong answer. Like 100%. There's certainly ways. Seabass did a really good job. Normal mountain biker of like his long form videos tend to be more Mr. Beast style where they're very young. You know, he reaches a younger audience. They're very frantic. They're very like, all right, now we're going to try this. You know, it's like he's got that younger style of editing that I don't have. And like the reason why his audience is the way it is, like he's just got this great style. And when I saw his videos, his long form stuff, and I was like, man, nobody's doing that. Like nobody's doing that. So it was like, that was cool to see. Again, we all have our own like thoughts on what it is. It's like,
yeah, it's been interesting seeing him getting into the longer format and like what he's trying to do now, like compared to, I remember talking to him when he was like not on YouTube. I think he was just on TikTok, and like the videos that he wanted to make for YouTube were like shreddeds. Like let's go out and like, like riding this trail, and like it looks cool, but those aren't gonna like, they weren't gonna go anywhere,
Yeah.
But now
that was all the start, right? And this is a great story of us creators as a general, right? It's like, that's how it all began, and it shifted and it changed and it evolved into something else. But it was like, it all started with getting a camera and filming something and then adapting that. And he still does little shredits. And now the funny part is, now he's doing professional shredits with Specialized every now and then. He did that with Cody Kelly, which I loved.
That was so good. Yeah, it was so good.
To me, and we may have talked about this, but to me, that really represented the industry starting to understand what we do. And he's such a bridge because he can send the jumps. He could do all this stuff. He's a bigger dude. It's such a spectacle to see him. He really does ride great. And so when I saw that, I was so excited. I shared it on everything I could share it on, because to me, that represented a big company taking a creator seriously, and also not only just taking them seriously, but also integrating their style and humor into a professional video. And that's where I see it going. Like right now, we still don't fully have the respect of the industry, if I'm completely honest. Like they don't understand what we do. They don't, like, I've got companies now on board that are starting to understand it, and I'm talking with companies that are starting to understand it. But years ago, I had a conversation with Jiro, and I was like, hey, I'd love to do a long-term partnership with you guys or something. And they're like, we'll do like a single paid thing, but we're not really looking for that right now. And so I was like, here's what's going to happen. And I may have told this before. I was like, I think what's going to happen is you guys are going to sleep on us, Jess, Seabass, all these really social media side of things, which really wasn't taking off, the comedy, social media side of things. I was like, we are getting a lot of views here, and like, it's only going to get bigger. I think like this is your chance to get us cheap. And they were like, not right now. And so now they're regretting that decision in general. But like, it's cool to see that a big company got it and integrated a creator and used their style. And I was so excited to see that. To me, that's like a glimpse into the future of where I would like to see it. Because still to this day, if you look at the marketing of mountain bikes, does it market to you? Does it market to me? Like, I don't see any advertising for mountain bikes that really targets anybody that I know. Like, if I'm honest, and maybe you can relate to this, but like, for example, when they show a new mountain bike, it's just a shred it. It's super sick. I'm not trying to talk down on it at all, but like, I can't ride like that. Like, I don't know anybody that can ride like that. And so what they're not marketing towards is the families, the kids, we go ride after work. I don't see any marketing like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so ultimately, as we break into this thing and we try to convince the industry that we kind of know what we're doing, like, let's pitch some stuff. Let's like, man, I still think there's a lot of room. I'd love to come up with like a full on, like campaign idea, pitch it, and just get a big budget and like shoot these things like, hey, just a regular group ride video, where it's like, it's funny. It's like, witty. It's like things that happen on the ride. And that's the average. It's like common. Like there's so many like ways to, I had this great idea for a video and I haven't made it yet, because I need I need people involved. I need money, so
I don't have the money. I'm a people though.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, this is where I get everybody in. Like, hey, you guys want to make a couple grand this week and come help? Like, this is where I'm thinking further than what I'm doing right now. But like, the premise of the video is simple. It's like, it speaks generationally to everyone. And the idea is like, you bring your kid in. There's a couple different ones I was thinking about, but one of them was like, the idea that you give your kid a bike and that's their first taste of freedom in their life, like all of a sudden the world opens up to them. They're riding, they're with their friends around the neighborhood. All of a sudden they can go where they want to go without your authority, like this freedom opens up. And then like they get older and they get their first car keys and they put the bike in the garage and they go drive and they go and they get a job and they get to work. And then it cuts again to the next scene where like you're in your office job, you've made your career, you're living your life, and, it's just kind of mundane. You're clicking, you're going home, you're watching TV. And then one day you see something, a buddy or something, a neighbor gets a bike, whatever. And you get on the bike, you get your own, or you go on a ride, you get your first bike and you're like a kid again, right? It's this cycle. And I think that is a commercial waiting to happen like this. It's just such a great story to me. It's really interesting. Like, it's so true because we all went through it. I went in, I was in LA in the rut and I got a bike finally, and it brought me back to life, man. It brought me back to the outdoors.
Yeah, I think there's like in my mind a minute ago, whenever you said, about like showing a normal person ride. So it would be like them watching YouTube on their phone, and it's like Remy like shredding, right? And then they get out of their truck, and then they're like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And then like the hook at the end is like, it doesn't matter, and then it's like Specialized or whoever, you know what I mean? Like, you're still having fun, and I think that's the like whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, show the regular guys like unloading their car and then having beers afterwards, and it's like, you don't have to show like it totally freaking like shredding. That doesn't really matter. Like, most people don't ride that way.
I think a funny concept would be just a normal group ride, 4 guys or girls and whatever. It doesn't matter. Like anybody, just four people. And it's like, you're in the parking lot, like, all right, let's hit it, dude. It's like, all right, we're just shot of like 3 people, like, and the other guy's like, hold on, I didn't get my tire pressure right. Or like, it's like, these things that are just, we all see on every ride we go on, but they're not, there's certainly no targeting marketing to like the normal person. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's my dream that I'll pitch a company and really get this thing locked in. And then the social experiment of putting it into rotation and seeing the numbers afterwards, which is what I want to see, right? Like I want to see and prove that I'm on the right track. And so like, that's why it's cool when I talk with outbound lighting and stuff, and I see the numbers of the spots and how they're doing. It's like, man, I'm telling you, like, I kind of somewhat know. I'm not there. I haven't honed it all in yet, but I'd like to see it. And like, it's a great social experiment.
That's the fun thing too. Like when you're talking to the companies and you can see like a direct, like, so how many of X widgets did you sell because of this? And they have that data, and then you're like, oh, okay, so like that's crazy, like that really is a lot, and it's like, all right, that's interesting,
But there was like a phrase in advertising where it's like you're selling, I forget the specific phrase, but you're not selling the product, you're selling the vibe, right? Like there's an actual, like, there was a phrase, you're selling the sauce, not the whatever. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
But again, if you make the product cool, or if you make it fun and everybody gets the vibe, like YT, I think does a pretty good job of this. Actually, YT is like a good example of like a company that's got these wild spots and they just kind of have a cool vibe, right? Like, so, you sell a vibe, an environment, like, anyways, an ecosystem. Apple sells an ecosystem. They don't sell the phones. They sell you an ecosystem. They get our Macs, get our iPads. They all talk to each other. They're all integrated. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I just like, I have ideas, right? So the only way to know if it works or not is to do it. So
yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's just, it's that, I just really think it's that creative, entrepreneurial kind of spirit.
Yeah. It's the same drive. It's that same, like, I'd love to just make it. I don't know. I like see, but I can't execute it currently. Like in my head, I know what needs to happen. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Like, you need like the people involved. You need like an elaborate shoot. So there'd have to be budget involved to make that work. But like, I think that's
the thing where I just really think, like, I think that there is some opportunity for like a couple of established people that have been doing it for a while to get together and make something that's new.
Yeah.
And then you don't really need as much budget because you are not all doing it. You're not doing it all by yourself anymore.
But if it was $50,000 to make it, I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I mean, on the other hand, you could like just make some stuff that like hits, and you're getting, huge views on long format, and the ad revenue itself will be like, oh, wow, maybe we don't need them,
Could be true. Could be true. We'll see. Yeah. I envision these as like ads to tell like a minute long, a minute and a half, whatever. Like,
that's what you're thinking.
Long form, right? So, but there's other stuff that I could be for long form stuff. There's some fun stuff I got to pull off too. But it's time. It's all time.
I think for me, like, I'm really stuck on the whole like creative idea of like YouTube, and that's the thing that like gets me more excited. So I can understand, like, right, for you, like, pulling in the ads and like pulling revenue that way has been like working well for you. So it's like, obviously,
dude, I don't even get much revenue from like ads and stuff. It's all through it's all through brand deals. Like, so I am hustling. Every dollar I make is essentially through brand. So I'm not even really making much on the,
Yeah, that's
IG
what I'm
doesn't pay
saying
me
though.
anything,
Like,
TikTok doesn't pay me anything, YouTube pays
right,
me a tiny bit. So it's like
right.
all that's like, if I start making long form, that's all adding to the bottom line. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's I've definitely had to do it the hard way, which is, not like the goal when we all started with the channels was like, oh, we just make tons of ad revenue from YouTube, but like with the shorts, it doesn't go that way. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's I've done the hard work on the brand deal
I
side, and
think,
now, yeah,
yeah. I think for me, like, what I'm thinking in my head is like, just keep honing in on the craft, keep honing in on the story,
yeah.
and then get to the place where you can drop videos that get like 1 million views on the regular,
God, wouldn't that be nice?
and
That's my goal. 2025. I want a YouTube video long form that hits 1 million. I got to do it.
yeah,
I was going to set that as a goal for 2024, and I really slacked off and focused on the short form, I guess. But that's the goal. I could do it. I'm going to do it. Like I said, everything else, I got to get 1 million view video on YouTube. That means its thumbnail and title's got to be on point, and it's got to be a good concept. So I'm going to figure that out. 2025. You mark my words right here.
I'm telling you, the 1 million views, Trailhead Troopers, if we do it right.
Brian did a video on Portal, and that thing's hit like 20-30 million views or something.
Really?
He's got a pretty good paycheck from that one. So
Yeah, I would imagine. That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
You know what we got to do? We just got to find the trail. Every year there's a trending trail that just goes nuts. Like, we just got to get to it early. All right. We just got to get to it early and make a video there.
And then just do something to screw it up so nobody can ride it.
Dude, I'm not doing production value is going to be crap too, because all the videos that are like it's just a ride video, they get like whatever. Like, remember, look at Blue Velvet video from Lone Ranger. It's just like, you don't need any production value. All you got to do is go ride the trail and just put it a good thumbnail, and you get lucky, and boom.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that video in a long time, but I remember that was just a massive success for him, like that video.
Yeah, no, he was saying, I think that was like his first one that hit 1 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Because his channel was pretty small when that came out. So
I'm trying to let go of the idea that I need it to be elaborate. Like, it did just come up with a concept like, hey, like how to, what I'm going to come, whatever. But like, it doesn't need to be, I don't need to spend all my time for 2 weeks making it. I'm just going to make more stuff and just have some fun with it and make it light and just whatever. And I think that'll get me more content out in the world, and it'll help me creatively. So it's going back to basics to a certain degree, right? It's like going to where you've got perfection. What is that word where you're paused in perfection, where you just like don't do anything because you don't have the right gear?
Like, it's analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. Yeah, where you're there, and like, yeah, if you can just scale it back and be like, hey, let me just like I did the other day. I was like, hey, let me make a video on like 10 helpful tips that like I wish I would have known when I started writing. Like, turns out you already know
really
that.
Good too, by the way. That was a really good one.
Thanks. And it's just like, that's just something that I really I wish I would have known that stuff. And there's probably a lot more that I could do, like 10 more tips or something, like, but like just stuff that like, I already know that I can just talk about that for a little bit. And so that's kind of like a purpose driven, and it's actually doing well. It's hit 30,000 views, and it's getting, normally I'd see a video just tank, and now it's still getting like 1,500 views every 48 hours. So I see that as a long like haul, hopefully.
It's a good evergreen one. I think I run into that same problem with the with my edits. Like I slow myself down because I want my edit to be so good, but
100%.
There's plenty of edits that I've done in the past that were just like sloppy, and they still did well because like people related with the story. So I've been trying to tell myself something similar as well, where it's like, dude, it doesn't need to be like I'll stop completely because I'll be like, I need to drive back up there and get some better drone shots. I didn't get what I mean?
We got to get over it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. By the way, side note, there was a YouTube the other day. I saw a thumbnail. It was just a dude in the forest, like kind of whatever. And it was just like, it was like 40 minutes long or so, 30 minutes long. And it had like 20 million views. I'm like, what is this? Like, it was just like it wasn't a thumbnail. It was just a picture of him in the forest. I was like, 30 million. What is this? Like, clicked on it. Shit you not. It's just a dude. He's just standing in the forest, and he's just like, well, I used to be a brain surgeon, and it was just him talking about how he was a brain surgeon and why he stopped being a brain surgeon. And basically, I didn't stick to the whole video, but it was like, there was no edits, there was no cuts.
Yeah.
It was just him talking to a camera in the forest, and he was just telling this story of like, oh, I was a brain surgeon, and here's why I decided to stop being a brain surgeon. And like, I was like, what are we doing here with our intricate edits, Robert? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We just
maybe
gotta
we
talk
just
to the
need to go
camera.
out there and try it. I mean,
Uh,
if it took him 40 minutes and we just put a camera in front of you, it would at least be 130 minutes.
Dude, I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. He's getting bit by mosquitoes. Maybe that's part of it psychologically. As the viewer, you're watching
Right.
every time a mosquito. They're all over, and every time like one lands on him, you're like, you gotta swat it. You gotta swat the
No,
mosquito. Like I was hooked on the video because I was watching the mosquitoes. I'm like, oh, he's got one on his cheek. He's got the mosquito on his. He's not getting it. What? Like maybe that was it. Like you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
I think psychologically there was something that kept people there, and that was it. It was like, I was like 20. I'm gonna send you the video. You're gonna be like, what the hell? Like, I couldn't believe it.
I'm gonna be like, thanks for wasting my life, Joe.
But it's just somebody telling a story, and it was just not a single cut. There was no cut at all. It was just the camera was rolling for 20, 30 minutes, whatever it was. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I normally like to ask people at the end of the show what YouTube channels that they like to watch, but I feel like you laid out some zingers already. You had that the cooking one,
tasting history is really cool. It's a really I love it. It's been really fascinating, and it really helps me kind of get in. Like you always think what would it be like to go to a what do you call it, like a pub in the 17th century or 14th century, and then they really describe it and show pictures and manuscripts and all this stuff. You're like, oh, it really helps you understand. I like it a lot.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah.
Dude. 2 hours goes by so quick when I'm talking to you, man.
I know.
I feel like I'm like, dude, we didn't even get started. You know,
we're talkers.
Yeah. So we'll definitely have to do this more. Maybe we should make a goal for 2025 that we actually hang out 5 times.
Yeah, if not more. If I do fireside chats again too, we gotta have you come over, and we'll do that over here, and we'll just get the firesides. I'll cook some steaks before we go live and stuff. We'll do something fun. But I've been so
I feel like we need to up the game there. Up the game there on that one.
Well, my buddy, he runs a bourbon and smoke channel on Instagram. He's like, I'll come over and be your dedicated bartender during the show. So it was like, we'll have a bartender and stuff. Like there's a lot.
I'll definitely bring an Uber. I'm coming in an Uber.
Yeah, 100%. We'll just get Kyle to drive you home. It'll be fine. We'll put him on the camera management. We'll have a big party.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. No, I think there's that's a super fun thing to do. We need somebody on the side though, just managing the smoke all the time.
With a blower,
yeah.
People try to tell me I should get a smokeless fire pit. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. No, it's got to be smoke in my face. It always blows my way too.
Yeah, definitely.
Take one for the team.
Exactly. Well, everybody,
it's like that mosquito thing. It's the same psychological thing. You're like, is he going to get hit with smoke? There it goes. It's right in his eyes. You can tell he's holding steady. He's holding steady. Oh, it's
going to happen.
That's how I keep my audience. That's the secret to my audience.
Thanks so much, man, for hanging out with us. And those of you that could have possibly clicked on this podcast and listened to it and haven't subscribed to his channel, do that. And maybe if you clicked on this podcast because Joe shared it, that's probably more likely. Subscribe to this channel. That would be great. Or share it with one of your friends. Honestly, I stopped by Apple Podcasts the other day and I was like, man, there hasn't been a new review on there in a while. So maybe share it, write a review. That'd be rad. That'd make me feel good. I like those feel good stories. So if none of that matters to you, then just remember this. It only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one. There you go.